welcome to Pub Sports Radio's NFL Beat the Line show for Tuesday, December 14th is week 15 of the NFL, and I'm coming off my 7th straight winning week. It was barely 5-4 plus 0.55 units, but I'll take it. And I'm pumped up for this week, although COVID is wreaking havoc all over the schedule. So tread with caution, and let's go over all of the issues that each team is having and see if we can find some angles. Bebsie, how you doing on this Tuesday night?
I am doing lovely, Jimmy, and I'm happy to see you once again. Hello, Cappers. You guys are wonderful. Thanks for joining us. Bebsie, or Jimmy and the hater. Who's the hater? Is he talking about Jose? How dare he?
Jimmy the hater. I think he's referring to your lack of love for Tom Brady, I think. Newkirker, happy Tuesday, Bebsie in the back. Got the ultras flowing. Let's talk some football. COVID could cause havoc this weekend. Great to have you, Newkirker. I love capping with you. Nutflush Allen says Bailey just arrived home for Christmas break from college. It's going to be a good week. Sammy Culmer in the house. Mr. Fun Monk ready to go. There's Clint, star of the Die Hard MMA podcast. Prince of the City, Leonard Welch. Terry Walker, Alex Ramirez, a great group joining us, and a lot of work has to be done. And no more buys, so we have 16 games to break down, so let's try to be quicker, and that's basically on me. And the sweet Kraken that I just poured. I know much to Jose's chagrin. He knows it's a 3-hour show coming up. Okay, let's review quickly last week. 5-4 plus 0.55 units for me. Browns minus 2.5 was a loss. Jacksonville, Tennessee under 44 was as easy as they come. Kansas City team total under 29.5 was abysmal. The Jets plus 5.5 was atrocious. Atlanta plus 2.5 was a casher. Carolina team total under 21.5 a casher. Detroit Lions under team total under 16.5 was a casher. The Giants team total under 16.5 was a loss. And in all honesty, I'm very fortunate to be sitting here as a with my streak intact because I had San Francisco minus 2. I thought Robbie Gould was going to ruin that. And I had the San Francisco Cincinnati over 49, which was a push thanks to Robert Gould missing that kick with 3 seconds left. So I'm 88-75, hitting at 54%, plus 4.60 units. ROI plus 2.82%. Average line minus 111. And when I think about someone who's won 7 straight weeks, I would imagine they would have a spectacular record, and I don't. But I want to keep this going. Bebsie, you are coming off a 5-5 week, down 0.39 units. Baltimore, Cleveland under 42.5 was a loser. Jacksonville, Tennessee, we were on together, was a casher. Chiefs team total under 29.5. I think I led you into that loss, and I apologize. Cowboys minus 3.5 was a casher. Broncos minus 7.5 casher. Betting against your boys with the Bengals pick'em did not work. Rams, Arizona under 52 lost by a point. Javonte Williams over 67.5 rush yards was a casher, and you split the Jones-Dillon rush yards. Jones didn't get over 57.5, but Dillon smashed to 50.5. That was the week that was. How do you feel about the week that was? Do you want to just skip it and move on to this week, or is there any spots on that board that you want to talk about?
Losing by a point in the Monday Nighter was painful. That was the difference in between me having another winning week. Because I've been less bad lately. There's my abysmal start to the year that's made this record look so horrible, but I've been a little more consistent lately. That one kind of stung. And to be honest with you, the Niners, Birdie and I have chatted privately about this, but I don't think the Niners deserved to win. The fan in me was happy. The capper in me was pissed. But yeah, that's all I have to say. We can move on.
Todd German in the house has used to deal poker to Johnny Detroit. Been following a while. What's up, Jimmy? Todd, welcome. Thank you for joining us here. 16 games to break down. And I also love poker very, very much. And finally got a chance to play a big cash game on Sunday night. And it was a treat, an absolute treat. All right. It is time to get to work. We got Birdie in the house. Dennis Trusty, Curtis Berry. Slatsy says, I'm not sure how you can make a bet with COVID ravaging teams left and right. 10 Rams, 9 Browns, 9 Washington football players on the COVID list. And it looks like it's just starting. Let's just talk about that very quickly. Bebsie, do you think that this is the brunt of it because teams are coming back? We had 4 teams coming off of buys. We had teams, probably players going out and celebrating after wins, or or drowning their sorrows after losses. So they come in on Tuesday. Some teams did have walkthroughs on Monday, but most of them come in on Tuesday and get tested. And that's why we had 37 players plus test positive for COVID. Do you think that this is kind of the brunt of it? Now we can start capping these games, or do you think there's another wave coming in any minute?
I don't know. It's tough to say. I mean, who knows? Like this new Omicron shit is apparently spreading quite rapidly, more like 4 times or something, 4 to 8 times more than Delta, I heard today. But I really don't know. I wish I did. I'm simply not that smart. I mean, the good news is most of these players are vaxxed. So if you're testing positive yesterday and the day before, you still an outside chance you could play. But who knows, Jimmy? It's a really tough call right now.
It is a tough call. I've made no bets yet, but there's a lot of spots that I find very, very appealing. So let's get right to work. Thank you guys all so much for joining us. Let's fire away. We start on the Thursday nighter, December 16th, 8:20 p.m. Kansas City Chiefs 9-4, 3-2 on the road at Los Angeles Chargers, 8-5, 4-3 at home, SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. This opened at 3.5. That 3.5 was at plus 102 and quickly moved to threes. Threes right across the board. Pinnacle's sort of hanging at 3.5 on the board. That's at plus 114, minus 3.5 for the Chiefs. But if we want the Chiefs at -3, we can get them right now. And I'm not sure why we wouldn't at this point. This total opens up at 49.5. We have 51.5s and 52s on the board. When we go to the action in this spot, we have 6,279 tickets in, 25% of the tickets on the Chargers, and 53% of the cash. So sharp action clearly here on the Chargers. Then we have 71% of the tickets on the over and just 52% of the cash, which is interesting. Let's start with the Chiefs side of things, set the table, and then hand it over to Bebsie and keep an eye on what the chat is doing. Let's go. Chiefs come in off their 6th straight win, 48-9 at home over the Raiders on Sunday. Mahomes was excellent, 20-24, 258 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Certainly looks like a veteran out there. Not trying to do too much. Tyreek Hill caught 4 passes for 76 yards. McCole Hardman caught 2 for 59. Derek Gore ran 9 times for 66 yards and a touchdown. Clyde Edwards-Helaire ran 10 times for 37 yards and a touchdown. The Chiefs defense had 5 different guys record a sack. They forced 5 turnovers. Cornerback Rashard Fenton was active but did not play. Defensive tackle Chris Jones was put on the COVID list today. Offensive tackle Lucas Nang was inactive. He's listed as questionable. L'Jarius Sneed is dealing with the death of his older brother in a stabbing on Friday night, so he missed his first game of the year. His parents were in prison growing up, so it was his brother that was largely responsible for raising him. Sneed missed his first game of the year. He had, before this game, he'd been on the field for more plays than any other player on the defense. So that's L'Jarius Sneed. So we expect him back in the lineup. Chargers coming off a 37-21 home win over the undermanned New York Giants. The game was tied at 7 before the Chargers broke it open with 30 straight points. Herbert, 23-31 for 275 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. And he's the first player to reach 30 touchdown passes in his first 2 seasons. He has the most completions by a player through his first 2 seasons at 734. The second fastest player to reach 8,000 career yards at 28 games. Keenan Allen out due to COVID, so extra attention being paid to Mike Williams. Jalen Guyton caught 3 passes for 87 yards and a touchdown. Joshua Palmer caught 5 passes for 66 yards and a touchdown. Mike Williams still got in the act, 6 catches for 61 yards. Austin Eckler ran 12 times for 67 yards, caught 2 passes for 17 yards, hurt his ankle in the 3rd quarter and didn't return. That was precautionary, supposedly. He hasn't practiced this week, and he is questionable for Thursday. Keenan Allen is expected to clear the COVID protocols in time to play Thursday, and the defense looked very strong again. Sacked Mike Glennon twice, hit him 7 times. Nick Neiman picked him off. They were without Derwin James, who hurt his hamstring in practice on Friday. He's listed as questionable. Rashawn Slater, offensive tackle, was added to the COVID list on Monday. And Linval Joseph, safety Trey Marshall, safety Gilman, cornerback Asante Samuel were all inactive last week. Now listed as questionable this week. So here we go. Bebsie, we're going to have what will become a very public road favorite. They are sitting here with 75% of the tickets and just 47% of the cash. So sharps are clearly betting the Chargers at home. And is this a trap that I am going to fall into? Is this a trap I should be afraid of? A lot has changed in 6 weeks. Take it away, Bebsie. Chiefs, Chargers.
This does feel like a trap to me, Jimmy, and I think if I was you, I would be a little bit leery of this. A road favorite on a Thursday, and yes, to answer your question, Trusty, I hate that this game is on Thursday night. This deprives football fans of a good game. Me, because I won't watch it, and goddamn, I'd like to watch it. But I'm not gonna, because I hate Thursday night football, and you should all boycott it too. However, I do think, I think this is a trap, Jimmy. I think this is a tough spot for the Chargers. They're coming off, the Chiefs. They're coming off an absolute shit kicking of another divisional team. But this is not the same divisional team. The Raiders have lost their way. The Chargers, however, are still a very good football team. They are in the playoffs, and they're at home, even though the Chargers don't really have home games, because if you've ever checked out SoFi in a Chargers game, you see how just abysmally sad the presence is for Chargers fans. But I like that, and I also like the under. I see a bunch of guys in the chat that are on KC in the over. I disagree here. I see this. I see both of these teams struggling to get their high-powered offenses going. That's more of a hunch. That's more of a gut feeling on that. But it also has to do with the fact that it's late in the season, divisional Thursday matchup. So I think that spreads that total's a little bit high. So for me, if I was going to bet this, I would take the Chargers in the under.
It just feels like a spot that I've learned to stay away from. The dreaded road favorite in a divisional game that I've learned to stay off of. And so why would I change that now? We know that the public is going to come in and destroy the Chiefs here. A Twatty Latte, thank you for the dono, my man. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania's finest Twatty Latte. So I think that the Chiefs are turning into a juggernaut, but we've seen what their defense looks without Jones in it. We also they have rave reviews of Melvin Ingram. Is this a revenge spot for him? Do you think here?
I don't know if it's a revenge. It's not like Melvin Ingram left on bad terms. You know, he was injured for a long time. He had some great years with the Chargers, but he got up there in price, and he, it was more. If anything, it was a money thing that didn't make sense given his history and the spot in his career. I as far as I know, there's no bad blood there. Yeah, of course you want to play hard against your old team, but I mean,
Mr. Funmonk says, how can you like the Chargers with that defense that gave 21 points to Mike Lennon? I don't really count that as a real 21 points, personally. They were up 37. The game was in hand, and they left their foot off the gas. And that's the danger of taking those team total unders, which I was on. 14 meaningless points when reserves were in. Not all the reserves were in, obviously, but that doesn't concern me at all that they let 14 points in the fourth quarter to Mike Glennon and the Giants. I don't think that's a sign of their defense. But has their defense improved over the last couple of weeks? Because it certainly feels that way, Bebsie. What do you think of this Chargers defense?
I think both of these defenses have improved. The Chargers defense, obviously, a little more recently. Kansas City's Chiefs defense has been playing better. It seems like as this season's gone on, week after week, they're looking better. But yeah, both of these defenses are playing better. That's another reason why I kind of lean to this under here.
Well, I believe that we haven't seen the ceiling for this total. Right now, it's a very public total, 71% of the tickets. It's just like the Chargers. The Chargers, so at this point, and right, this is Tuesday night. We are 48 hours before kickoff. Exactly. And the Chiefs and the over are public, and the Chargers and the under are sharp. Of those two spots, I believe it would just be the under that I'd want, but I'd need Jones in there. Do you agree that you would need Chris Jones in there if you wanted to bet the under?
Yeah. I mean, obviously the Kansas City Chiefs are a different team with Chris Jones in there, so yeah, that would factor in.
So at this point, I am not going to take just like my man Nuke Worker says. I love capping with these guys who've been in the game for so long. Simple. He's just so succinct with his breakdown. Dreaded road favorite in a divisional game on a Thursday night. No thanks. Okay, so I'm not going to smack this Chiefs spot, but I do have interest in the under. Twatty Latte says, with KC's defense playing better, I think they'll cover almost every game. With Jones, I like the under in this one. So that will be the caveat at this point. I would have a lot of interest in this under. And if Chris Jones was in, I think it's probably best to take the first half under. It's probably best to ensure that there's no fourth quarter hijinks that could take this away. So if Chris Jones is in, I believe that the first half under will be my plan of action. And we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see because he is on the COVID list and he is vaccinated. So we'll have to wait and see. That is the Thursday nighter. No move for Bebsie as per usual on the Thursday nights. And I would like this first half under if Chris Jones is in the lineup. There's Thursday night. Let's move to Saturday night action. While these two games are going on, I will be live at SoFi myself for the LA Bowl. Utah State, Oregon State. Wasn't what I was planning, but I'll make the best of it. I'm excited. Las Vegas Raiders, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 6-7, 3-3 on the road at Cleveland Browns, 7-6, 5-2 at home. We're at FirstEnergy Stadium in Cleveland, Ohio. 39 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 17 mile per hour winds. By the way, not Flush on saying on that big Thursday night, there's also a great live betting. If both score, the live total will fly up and grab that under. Well put. All right, well, let's start with the market here in the first Saturday nighter. 43.5 total. It opens at Pinnacle. It's now down to 40s. There's even a 39.5 at a dice game book that we won't mention. Cleveland opening up as 6.5-point favorites. Well, you probably read the news today. They've been hammered by COVID, and it has moved to 3. We are now 3-point favorites. I am Prince of the City. Well, we think we are. We are planning on it. But right now, things are getting a little out of control. But we plan to fly out on Friday. We could always fly out. It was just driving across the border was the issue. But now we can do both. Let's take a look at where the cash lies in this Raiders spot. 3,908 tickets in. 54% of the tickets, 70% of the cash on the Cleveland Browns. 58% of the tickets, 73% of the cash on the under, and it's dropped all the way down to 20.5. The Raiders coming off a disastrous 48-9 loss at the Chiefs on Sunday. It was 35-3 at the half. They turned the ball over 5 times, 4 fumbles, 1 pick. It was the largest margin of victory in the series that began in 1960. In 126 games, that is the largest margin of victory between these two teams. The Chiefs have just beaten them up this year, outscored them 89-23 in 2 meetings this year. Derek Carr was 33 of 45, 263 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and lost a fumble. I mean, I've said it a bunch of times, but I'm really impressed with how he's played all season long. Hunter Renfrow, 13 catches for 170 yards and a TD. He did lose a fumble, but no other receivers did anything. Josh Jacobs ran 9 times for just 24 yards. He did catch 5 passes for 46 yards and lost a fumble. 4th fumble was lost by Zay Jones. They managed 3 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. Quarterback Trayvon Mullen was helped off the field in the 3rd quarter. He'd been out since week 4 with a toe injury. It sucked watching him go down. Foster Moreau day-to-day with a muscle strain. Max Crosby's dealing with a calf injury, but he is expected to play. Tight end Darren Waller, defensive end Carl Nassib, linebackers Denzel Perryman, we know how important he is, and Patrick Onwuasor were inactive last week and are listed as questionable this week. Birdie says, huge overreaction here. Browns D intact. Says, only real piece is Landry so far. I'm going to go over all of these guys who are out. Don't worry. One thing I do know is Derek Carr sucks in bad weather. This is from Birdie, and he says, I bet Browns -6 now. I'll bet them again if this line drops more. So it's funny that you mentioned that because in part of our capping, we make bets based on injury expectations. And most of the time they've worked out for me. And this isn't an injury. This is obviously COVID issues. but we are dealing with all 8 of these players I'm about to announce are vaccinated, and this game is Saturday. And it's possible that the -3 on the Cleveland Browns right now is a gift. It's possible that is, and it's possible that will be my conclusion after we break down this game. Browns place 8 players on the reserve COVID list. 4 offensive starters, Pro Bowl wide receiver Jarvis Landry, offensive guard Wyatt Teller, tight end Austin Hooper. Remember, Landry and Hooper were the touchdown catches in their win over the Ravens. Left tackle Jedrick Willis Jr., defensive end Tack McKinley, punt returner Jojo Natson, backup guard Drew Forbes, reserve tight end Ross Travis also were placed on the list. I should also let you guys know, and I know a bunch of you do, that I have 4 futures on the Browns and division and over 9.5 wins. The 9.5 wins is pretty important to me. The division is less important, and then the AFC Super Bowl were smaller bets. I believe it's just $100. I'd have to double check, but they're just for fun, really. Landry and Hooper lead the Browns and those were my only AFC or conference Super Bowl bets. Landry and Hooper are the 2 leaders for the Browns in receptions. 38 for Landry, 33 for Hooper. Teller, who's also on this list, just signed a 4-year extension worth $56.8 million. Wills is Cleveland's first-round pick last year. He's been a starter at left tackle for 2 seasons. And as I said, all 8 players are vaccinated. So let's go over those rules again. Vaccinated players can return only after producing 2 negative tests 24 hours apart. Unvaccinated players, like Alex Mattison on the Vikings, must sit a minimum of 10 days. Now, that's not all. David Njoku and Anthony Walker, their tight end and linebacker, were placed on the reserve COVID list last week, and they missed Sunday's 24-22 win over the Ravens, and they haven't been activated yet, so that makes 10 players. In the win, the Browns were up 24-6 at the half, had to desperately hang on for the win. I didn't like it. I didn't like not cashing that bet. It made me extremely angry. Baker Mayfield was 22 of 32, 190 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He didn't score a point in the second half. That also made me very angry. Donovan Peoples-Jones caught 5 passes for 90 yards, so we know that he's going to be in the lineup at this point. Landry, 5 receptions, 41 yards. Hooper, 5 catches for 30 yards. Grant Delpit was all over the field, 11 tackles. They had 4 sacks, 8 quarterback hits as a group. Myles Garrett had a strip sack, scoop, and score. The defense held Baltimore to 1 of 12 on third down, but did allow them to go 3 of 4 on fourth down. Kareem Hunt hurt his ankle while making a third down catch in the first quarter. It was his second game back after missing 5 with a calf injury. He's listed as doubtful. So let's cut Kareem Hunt off this game as well. Harrison Bryant. So let's say Njoku's out. Let's say Hooper's out. So let's say we're going without Hooper and Njoku. Well, goddamn, perfect timing for Harrison Bryant to come back into the lineup. So he returned to practice, and he's expected to be there. Quarterback Troy Hill, doubtful. Wide receiver Anthony Schwartz, cornerback Greg Newsome, safety Ronnie Harris, all inactive last week. List is questionable this week. I can't wait to hear your breakdown, Bebsie. I'm sorry for my long introduction, but I think that we might have an opportunity to bet the Browns at a discounted price here. Take it away.
I think we do, and I think I'm going to. Listen, what I just said about the Vegas Raiders applies in this game as well. Yes, the healthy Kansas City Chiefs are a much more formidable opponent than the ailing Cleveland Browns, but I'm just watching a lost Vegas Raiders team, and it's worth noting what Birdie said about Carr in bad weather as well, but also the fact that their defense is still intact. And like you mentioned, we might be able to get some of these players back. I just see a Raiders team that is nosediving, as they often have at the end of seasons recently. And look, they've been through more than any other team in the NFL this year, and it's showing. It's starting to wear on them. Even with the COVID issues with Cleveland, I still think you get a lot of these players back. And you know, given the fact that they're vaccinated, they're pro athletes on top of it. I don't know how sick they're going to be. It's not like when teams had COVID last year and they didn't practice and they still got their players back, but their players couldn't really play because COVID was still kicking the shit out of people then. I think it's a little different. I think this is a great value spot for the Browns, and I'm going to move on them here.
I think so too. I think so too. Slats says, love that breakdown from Dr. Feelgood. Just bet Browns -3. Before we do this, Twatty, who's in our chat right now, could you expand, if possible, why you like the Raiders money line? I would be very interested to hear that. Let's go. Brandon says, you get a positive. You get a positive. Everybody gets a positive. And Bebsie, we have something special for you here that you're a part of, Bebsie.
Everybody in the audience, now listen to me carefully, is being given a special package, and I don't want you to open it. Do not open it. Cameras are on you, so do not open until I tell you. All right, open your boxes. Open your boxes. 1, 2, 3.
You get a steak. 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 Everybody gets a steak.
He does owe us many steaks. Bebsie. You are in on the steak cash. Twatty says Baker is terrible. Yes, Baker's. Well, I don't know if he's terrible because he's not putting his team at risk very often.
Yeah, he's not terrible. He's just not any good. There's a difference there. Baker doesn't make his teams win. Baker just doesn't make his teams lose.
I think that's right. I think that's well put. I agree with that. We talk about Mahomes looking like such a veteran. You know, Baker sort of is looking a little bit like a veteran out there. He's just not looking very good. You know what? I agree wholeheartedly with this sentiment. And this is a risk. We are making a bet here on a Browns team that we're hoping is going to be healthier by the time push comes to shove. I'm going to pull up Circa right now because they've been giving out really nice odds lately. And anybody in America, they do have limits. So, if you're doing this for a living and your unit size is over $1,000, there's going to be times where you're going to get stopped by them. But if you're not, they're giving out really nice odds. So I'm just going to check them out here. But I think we move on the Browns. You can get -3 at -104. That's the best line available. It's better than Circa. So let's do this. So Bebsie, you want it? Bebsie?
I do want it.
All right. Browns -3 at -104. That's available at Pinnacle right now. And I am going to make this bet tonight. Skins Nation says, I don't understand how you can get the inconsistent Chargers. Doesn't add up. Skins Nation, a part of it is the dreaded road favorite, as Nuke puts it. So that's a huge part of that whole story. Is just the vividness bias and what we see from divisional home dogs. I'm not going to take the Chargers, but it's going to keep me off of the Chiefs here. Okay.
I think you're right to stay off the Chiefs, Jimmy.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm interested in the under if Jones is in. Nuke Worker says, after last weekend, I'm off the Browns for the moment. Let's not let that happen. I mean, if you've been watching me play the Lakers like a fiddle, it's every time, every single cappers, I cannot bet the Lakers again. That's when we jump in and they cash for us really easily. So let's just it was a bad loss we took, Nuke, and we didn't deserve to take that loss. And, when you're up at like we were at the half, you expect to cash that, especially when the Ravens don't have their starting quarterback. But let's not let that not add money to our pockets if it's the right situation here. All right, let's move on to the next spot. I'm going to be joining Bebsie on the Browns -3 if it's available at the end of the show. We move on to the next game, Saturday night, 8:15 p.m. Eastern. New England Patriots 9-4, 6-0 on the road to Indianapolis Colts 7-6, 3-4 at home. Yeah, the Robbie Tagaloa, the Samoan Thunder, they have a major COVID issue. We went over all the players. The line's gone from 6 to 3, and I'm okay with it right now, especially with all of them being vaccinated, and we're still 5 days away from that game. So I'm Boston Nick in the house. There's Big Show also joining us. Okay, we are New England Patriots 9-4, 6-0 on the road to Indianapolis Colts 7-6, 3-4 at home. We're at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. We have the Colts opening up as 1.5 point favorites. They're now 2 point favorites. This is going to be one hell of a football game on Saturday night. This total opened up at 44. It's now at 45.5 or 46. And this is one of the most exciting moments of the weekend, I think, ahead of us. Let's take a look at where the cash lies in this spot. We have 5,813 tickets in, 41% of the tickets on the Colts, 78% of the cash on the Colts. 33% of tickets, listen to this, 95% of cash on the under, and yet it's gone from 44 up to 45.5, and Pinnacle's already moved it to 46. Both teams come in fresh off their bye week. Patriots were last seen in their 7th straight win, 14-10 at Buffalo, in driving wind gusts that forced the Patriots to throw just 3 times. Damian Harris ran 10 times for 111 yards and a touchdown. Ramondre Stevenson ran 24 times for 78 yards. Devon Godshaw was excellent, 10 tackles. They had 2 sacks, 6 quarterback hits. And Mac Jones has emerged as the top quarterback from this draft class and the best rookie this year. He's clearly passed Jamar Chase, even though Jamar Chase is coming off his first good game in about a month. And the 5th quarterback selected in the NFL draft. He leads all rookies with 270 completions for 2,869 yards, 16 touchdowns, and he's now the overwhelming favorite to win NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's 3rd among all quarterbacks with 70.3% of passes completed. He's 10th in completions, and that includes having a game where he went 2 for 3. So with 2 games left, he's already tied with 2 away games left, With 2 away games left, he's already tied the NFL record held by Dak Prescott and Ben Roethlisberger for most road wins by a rookie quarterback with 6. And the Patriots have the number 1 seed in the AFC after their win over the Bills. And they haven't had to battle with injuries too much this year. They did lose James White and Jonathan Jones, and neither are expected back this year. But there's a lot of players who were on the IR that have come back. N'Keal Harry, Trent Brown, Jamie Collins are back. Kyle Duggar's return is expected this week as well. So Damian Harris left the game with a hamstring injury. Adrian Phillips went down second last play of the game. Both are questionable, but Harris was a participant at practice today, so he's expected to be ready to go. Colts were last seen in a dominant 31-0 victory at Houston in Week 13. Carson Wentz, 16-22 for 158 yards, 1 touchdown. Pittman Jr. caught 6 passes for 77 yards. Jonathan Taylor looks like the MVP. 32 carries, 143 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did lose a fumble. The defense swarmed both Tyrod Taylor and Davis Mills, sacking them 4 times, hitting them 11. Kenny Moore had an interception. So losses by Cincinnati and Buffalo have messed this AFC playoff race up. And Indianapolis has jumped from 9th to 6th in this 7-team postseason field. They now hold the top spot among the 5 teams tied at 7 and 6. And they're 1 game behind the Los Angeles Chargers for the 5th seed in the top wildcard spot. And they play the Kansas City Chiefs this week. And this is not the first time they've rallied from a 1-5 start. In Frank Reich's first year in 2018, they did the exact same thing. These 2 teams have only played once since Reich took the Colts job from Josh McDaniels. It was Josh McDaniels who backed out. It was his job. And New England has won 8 straight over the Colts. Darius Leonard has a left ankle issue. The extra days off have helped that very much. DeForest Buckner has a hyperextended knee issue. That has been given extra time to heal. Also, center Ryan Kelly will be back. He missed the Houston game because of a positive COVID test. Zaire Franklin was placed on the reserve COVID list on Monday. Linebacker Zaire Franklin. Ooh-wee, Bebsie. This one's a beauty. Take it away. Patriots Colts.
A big part of me wants to just sit back and watch this game as a fan of football because I think given the surging New England Patriots, who are on a tear and took on Buffalo in Belichickian fashion at home in a storm before the bye. Coming out of the bye, Bill Belichick is a monster. And I think they can very well prepare for this Colts team. But this Colts team is also a fantastic football team. And I don't know if I want to bet against them, but what it boils down to for me is pretty much exactly what's being posted by Danny Lopez right here. If Bill Belichick shuts down Taylor, then he's going to force Carson Wentz to win this game. And do you think Carson Wentz can pick apart this Patriots defense? I want to take the Pats mainly because of Bill Belichick coming out of a bye and just being this psychopath that he is. The beautiful, wonderful, brilliant psychopath that he is.
I love the breakdown. The Sharps are on the Colts right now. The public, I think, will change some of this because 59% of the tickets on the Patriots, which is 22% of cash. Now, the public's also on the over. And I like what Twatty's saying. I think that makes a ton of sense. This is from Twatty. 2 top 10 teams in points per game on turf. Love this over. What do you think of the over here?
That's an interesting stat. To be honest with you, prior to reading this, I might have suggested the under, but I also think Belichick's going to want to take away this ground game. And in the event that he does, then I don't know. I just don't believe in Carson Wentz. This is what it boils down to for me. I don't believe in Carson Wentz. I don't like Carson Wentz either. I think he's a dink, and I don't believe in him. And I believe in Bill Belichick coming out of the bye. The only thing that makes me not want to bet the Pats is they're due for a loss, but they're just not coming. Those L's are not coming.
Burgundy, I'll drop it again for you, my guy. It's 41% of the tickets, 78% of the cash on the Colts. 33% of tickets, 95% of cash on the under. And what do you think about the Titans being vulnerable and the Colts able to possibly win the division? I'd have to look at the schedule quite closely. But it's a very interesting idea.
Listen, before this season started, I was mega high on the Colts given the fact that if Carson Wentz could play adequately, you didn't need him to be a star. Remember how good this Colts team was last year with Old Man Rivers at the helm, and he single-handedly destroyed that team's hopes last year. Well, Carson Wentz is mentally not anywhere near as good as Rivers, but at least he can throw a ball more than 15 yards. So this is a good Colts team. And as mentioned, the Titans are very vulnerable. So I like that look. I think they could overtake them down the stretch because, listen, the Titans initially weathered the storm after losing Derrick Henry. But the offense is slowing down. That defense is still playing better than anyone, I think, imagined because they were so brutal last year. But, yeah, they're vulnerable, and the Colts are looking great.
Well, is this something that you want to make official here?
I think I'm going against a lot of smart people who I respect here. But I think I have to take – you're giving Belichick – I understand it's on the road, but you're giving Belichick points coming out of a bye. I like that too much. I'm going to take the Pats here.
And Michael says Titans hold the tiebreaker. It's a very important point. And the reason why you're getting such a big number is because of this game here, because if the Colts lose this game, and, you know, that ship has sailed. Oh, wow. What's Boston Nick says, Colts scare me. Of course, Nicky, Boston Nick. So he's a big Pats fan. Robbie Tagaloa on the first half under.
At least I got Nuke with me. Thanks, Nuke.
I love Nuke. Okay, this game for me is going to require more time for me to make a move. I just find these are two very good football teams, and I can understand everybody backing Belichick off the bye. But with the Sharps on the Colts right now, I'm just going to need a little bit of time to figure everything out. By the way, Will Hill has moved this to 2.5 for the Colts. The other books are still at 2. Pinnacle's 2 is at -114. So you can expect the 2.5 to come from Pinnacle in the next 36 hours or so. This is as fun as football gets. I imagine the game before this is going to be a garbage fire, but this one is going to be a thing of absolute beauty. And, anytime Belichick works, it's fun to watch. So let's see what I can get you right now. I can get you. Oh, and Circa is another book that has moved the Colts to 2.5. Good God. Wow. Okay, so we have a -2 at -110 available at Sports Interaction for you, Bebsy. You want it?
Yes, sir.
All right, Bebsy is locked in. The Pats. Oh, sorry, I said -2. Sorry. God, what the hell am I doing? Sorry, let me just. What am I saying? You obviously, if you're on the Pats, then you'll want the 2.5. Sorry, my fault. Here we go. There's
Did
a
you
2.5. 2.5. It's up to you. There's a 2.5 at Will Hill. The 2.5 at Circa's at -114. The 2.5 at Will Hill's at -110. The 2 at Pinnacle's at +103. So do you want the +103 line for the +2, or would you rather just a regular juice +2.5 -110 at Will Hill?
I'm going to take the plus money here because I like the Pats. I'm not going to overthink this. I'm going to bet on Bill Belichick coming out of the bye.
Now, do you have any interest on the money line then? Do you have any interest in that? It's the highest money line we can give you is a +123.
No, I'm going to hold off.
Yeah, I get it. +103 is still nice. Dennis says, my trusty, my computer broke, so I have nothing useful to contribute. It's just nice to have you here, Dennis. And please, if you can write in, then I always keep an eye out for your comments. Twatty, though, he thinks that you should be on the money line. +2 at +103. At least you're getting a plus number for Bebsy. I'm going to need more time on this. Let's move on. That's Saturday's action. We move on to Sunday morning, December 19th, 1 p.m. Eastern. By the way, I'm going to LA on Friday, as a lot of you guys know, for 17 days with the family. And I'm going to start the Betting with the Bag. I'm going to take 2 weeks off of. I've never missed a Betting with the Bag show since I've been over at Pub Sports Radio. And I am taking 2 weeks off. But the NFL show will not stop. I will be shooting the NFL show, recording it from LA, so don't worry about that. 1 p.m. Eastern, Carolina Panthers 5-8, 3-3 on the road at Buffalo Bills 7-6, 3-3 at home. My man R, he's from Toronto as well. He says Rams are a good future bet. They are. They would have been better before the Cardinals game, but I can understand that. Thank you, Danny. I'm excited. How many of our friends are in LA too? Because even on my first night at SoFi, I get to have a beer at halftime with DJ Big Boss and his dad. And that's just going to be so memorable. All right. Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York. I still don't like calling it Highmark Stadium. 33 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 11 miles per hour. We have, that's money line. Sorry, let me move over to spreads and totals. We have Buffalo opening up as 12-point favorites. Well, that is too high. That's moved to 10. Bet 365. Will Hill still hanging at 10.5. This total opened up at 44.5. Now we see 43.5. Now let's go over to the cash flow in this spot. 77% of the tickets on Buffalo, 94% of the cash. Sports Insights is good enough to say that the Buffalo's quarterback situation is undecided. And we know he left in a walking boot, but he straight up says it's a very light left ankle sprain, and he's going to be fine, and he'll be in the lineup. Josh Allen, I'm speaking of. 68% of tickets are on the over. Panthers coming up their third straight loss, 29-21 at home versus the Falcons. Newton lost his third straight start since re-signing with Carolina. He ran for a 12-yard touchdown on Carolina's first possession, turned the ball over twice, though, and was replaced twice during the game by P.J. Walker, including midway through the fourth quarter. Panthers had 3 giveaways. They've lost 8 of their last 10 games under Matt Rule. And I don't think Matt Rule has much time left. I blame him for all of the quarterback decisions that have been made here. He's taken a lot of risks deciding who is going to be the quarterback, and I would let him fuck off in the offseason. Cam Newton, 15-23 for 178 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. He also ran 10 times for 47 yards and a touchdown. He's lost his last 11 starts as Carolina's starting quarterback dating back to 2018. I don't understand why he's in there. I go with PJ Walker completely and totally as my starting quarterback. I would never have brought Cam Newton in the first place. Robbie Anderson caught 7 passes for 80 yards and a touchdown. DJ Moore caught 6 passes for 84 yards. He hurt his hamstring during the game. He's listed as day-to-day. Jeremy Chin had 13 tackles, Shaq Thompson at 11. The defense got 0 sacks, but did get 7 quarterback hits. They've just struggled at home nonstop. They lost 5 straight, but they're on the road here. And also, Matt Rule said it's a possibility that Sam Darnold will return down the stretch. Guards John Miller and Michael Jordan were inactive, listed as questionable. Bills coming off a tough 33-27 overtime loss at Tampa on Sunday to lose to Tom Brady for the 10th straight time. I know a lot of you guys were on the Bills plus the points, and my heart did fucking ache. I did want you guys to cash that, and you guys deserve to cash that, but Cappen's a son of a bitch, and it's a fickle whore. They're 3-5 over their last 8 games. They've lost 2 in a row for the first time this year, and I'm just so thankful that I didn't think their division was a slam dunk, because I thought the Packers division was a slam dunk, and I made a nice, big, juicy bet on them, but stayed off the Bills. Josh Allen, 36-54, 308 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He also ran 12 times for 109 yards and a touchdown. Big shout out to Sharpie, who in every big game the Bills play, in every competitive situation that he expects to be, a tight game, he takes the Josh Allen rushing yards over. And I believe he's 9 of 10 or 8 of 9. He's hit a very high number of them this year. So big shout out to Sharpie's bets. Josh Allen became the 4th player in league history to throw for over 300 yards and also rush for 100 in the same game. That's interesting. Only 4 players have ever done that. And left in a walking boot. We already talked about that. Sprained left foot. He says he's fine. Stephon Diggs, 7 catches for 74 yards. Cole Beasley, 9 catches for 64 yards. Dawson Knox, 7 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown. Their difficulties at running back continue. They ran 4 times for 43 yards in the opening half, with Josh Allen logging all of those 4 rushes. They didn't have a rushing attempt by a running back until the 3rd quarter when Matt Breida took the snap on a fake punt and lost 3 yards. Jesus. Tremaine Edmonds had 12 tackles. Jordan Poyer had 10 tackles. They got 2 sacks and 4 quarterback hits. Emmanuel Sanders hurt his knee in the first half, didn't return. He's not playing this week. A.J. Klein is on the reserve COVID list still. Tyrell Dodson was placed on the COVID list Monday. Linebacker Tyrell Dodson. A.J. Klein missed the last game because of the COVID issue. Star Lodolele was inactive and is listed as questionable this week. Here we go, Bebsie. The Bills. Do they smash and grab here at home?
I think they do. The Bills need this win badly. The Carolina Panthers season is over. Cam Newton is trash. We know this. Why is it that we know this and NFL teams don't, particularly the Carolina Panthers? Look, the Bills still have a very good defense. The Panthers aren't going to move the ball at all here. They are going to struggle to do anything. I realize that this is a Bills team that has been up and down and terrible at times. The Jags game is coming to mind. I don't think that's the case here. I think the Bills are up against it. I think they get right in time for the playoffs. And to be honest with you, I don't care who's at QB. I don't care if it's Mitch. I don't care if it's Josh Allen. Obviously, I prefer Josh Allen, but I think the Bills come out and just kick the shit out of these wounded kitty cats.
Well, I mean, the big point here, as we're gamblers, is if it's going to be Mitch, which I do not think it will be, just judging from interviews, but then if you think that it could be Mitch, wait so you can get the better number.
See, but that's the thing is I don't think it will be Mitch either, and I don't know if this number gets better. Do you see this number dropping at all?
No, I don't.
Unless it's announced that Mitch is the quarterback, which both you and I agree that it won't be.
He just sounded so casual. Did you hear him talk about the injury? He just sounded so relaxed, like it was nothing. So,
yeah, he's an ox. Like, he is a big, thick boy. I don't think it's going to be a problem.
So you expect him to be in. We've seen the market move towards the Panthers. We are sitting here with 77% of the tickets and 94% of the cash on the Bills. So I don't know how this 2-point move has happened. And
Listen,
69% of tickets on the over.
It feels like a few people think this is still going to move down. I'd love to even get a 9.5 here. But I'm also kind of confident in the 10. It doesn't go back up, right? We agree there.
Yeah.
10.5 on FanDuel Burgundy bets.
Yeah, I think that this is this a very angry Bills squad right now, sitting at 7-6 and 3-3 at home?
I think it is. I really do. I think this Bills team is too good to not get right. In this spot, they need to destroy listen, the Panthers have been bad. Their defense is still a talented defense. There's no question there, but I don't. This is not a good football team. It's a struggling football team.
Well, let's answer this question. Birdie says, why would you play Allen? You brought Trubisky in because he is capable. Bills have to get him healthy or they just screwed. I don't fully agree with that. They have to win this football game.
Yeah, I think their need to win supersedes this injury that Allen seems to be pretty laissez-faire about.
They have to win this football game. So at this point, I don't see why the Bills. I think this is a key number at 10. Is Bet 365 really hanging the 10.5 like a bunch of cocks? Let me just move over there very quickly here. Please don't tell me they're hanging at 10.5. Yeah, they are. That's a crucial number there. But
well, that's the thing though, Birdie, is I think they win by 10 with one or the other.
Oh, I can't even get the 10 right now. So it's not like I don't need to rush into any of this shit right now. It's too bad that I can't even get the 10. But the 10's available. And let's see what the first halves are, because it feels like a smash and grab spot. It's going to be cold too, 33 Fahrenheit. Look, I'm not calling Cam Newton out as a man, but those are tough conditions. And I would be surprised if he shines in them. Although it helps being mobile.
Listen, Cam Newton's a beast. His arm is done. And mentally, he hasn't been the same since he threw the Super Bowl.
Well, the Bills' first half is 6.5. Brady said Rule said today they're playing both guys. You have to play PJ Walker. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Okay, and then Brady says, why bet at 10? There's better spots. And Dennis Garcia says, you really want to want favorites after last week? Dennis Garcia said, I'd rather back Cam in cold weather than Allen.
He also added LOL, so I don't know how much he's backing that.
Okay, well, I guess this is going to take a little bit more thought here. I do not believe that this it's pretty easy to say that there's not going to be a Bills first half minus 6.5 available come Sunday. Twatty says he's going to be on the minus 13.5 alternate line. Yeah, I like the Bills in this spot, and I think that they should be back. So you still think this defense is strong? This Bills defense is strong without Trey White?
Look, I think that's a massive, massive hit to any defense when you lose a true lockdown corner, but I still think they can get it done. Especially against a quarterback that can't throw the ball.
I agree. Agreed.
I like my odds defending a Cam Newton throw right now. Like me, 39-year-old fat fuck. I think I got a shot at defending a couple of Newton passes.
JL in the house, great to see you, my man. Yes, the fly. It feels good. I just wish I didn't add anything. I had a perfect card, and then I added stuff, and now I'm gonna have to possibly mess around with the consequences. Brady says, "Why? It's not like the Bills can take any more money, and the line is dropping." You're right, Brady. I'm not gonna. I don't see myself betting anything right now. I need to sit with this a little longer. Because clearly all the money's on the Bills and the market's moving towards the Panthers. I mean, how can I pretend that's not it? They obviously pulled out all the stops to try to stop Brady, and it didn't work for them. And so I'm hesitant. I'm hesitant to do anything at this point. Are you making anything official here?
No, I'm going to hold off because if this line drops some more, then awesome.
Also, if the Bills are hurting, we know that they're hurting. They lose Trey White, and their quarterback has a sprained ankle, and their running game can't do the job. This total's dropped down to 43.5. And Brady says, don't they play New England next week? They do. Yes, they do play New England next week. All right, this is going to take some more time. I can understand why the total's gone down a point. Do you agree with that here? Twatty giving us a final score of 28-10. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I that seems logically about where it should land. I mean, the Carolina Panthers have not been able to put up points against anybody. I think, yeah, and I believe the Bills roll here.
Okay, we're going to have to speed up our pace here, but that was a very fascinating game. This one isn't. 1 p.m. Eastern, Arizona Cardinals 10-3, 7-0 on the road at Detroit Lions, 1-11-1, 1-5 at home. We're at Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. Let's see what we are dealing with here. We have the Cards opening up as 13.5-point favorites. That opened up at -105. It's now -101, so a 4-cent move towards the Lions. This total opened up at 47.5, and there's been no movement whatsoever. We go over to the cash flow in this spot, and we have 3,770 tickets in, 70% of the tickets, 86% of cash on the Cardinals, 58% of tickets on the over. We don't have the cash up yet. And Birdie says, what I'm getting at is Carolina is the play. I could see you hinting there.
Is that what he was getting at, being staunchly against anything we said positive about Buffalo? Yeppa. It's fuck you. It's fuck you, Birdie. We're fighting. Let's go.
Oh, shit. All right. Arizona comes in off a 30-23 home setback at the hands of the LA Rams. The Cardinals are 7-0 away from home and 3-3 at State Farm. And they're away from home here. Kyler Murray was 32 of 49, 383 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He also ran 7 times for 61 yards. AJ Green caught 7 passes for 102 yards. Christian Kirk caught 3 for 86. James Conner ran 13 times for just 34 yards, but 2 more touchdowns, and he caught 9 passes for 94 yards. He scored a touchdown in 7 straight games, tying a Cardinals record set by old John David Crow in 1960. Defense got 3 sacks and 4 quarterback hits. The Arizona defense activated Rashard Lawrence, defensive lineman, and long snapper Aaron Brewer, broken arm before the game. Left guard Justin Pugh was also active, though he didn't start, interestingly enough. Chase Edmonds remains on the IR, and defensive tackle Zach Kerr was inactive and listed as questionable today. Lions coming off a 38-10 loss at Denver on Sunday. They were hit hard by COVID. 7 players are out of the lineup. They lost Melifonwu, Mark Gilbert, Tavante Beckett, Jamal Williams, Tracy Walker. I should give cornerbacks Melifonwu and Mark Gilbert, linebacker Tavante Beckett, running back Jamal Williams, safety Tracy Walker, cornerback Bobby Price, and center Evan Brown. Then on Monday, they placed cornerback Corey Ballantyne, and that's the 8th player. So they've lost 8 players to the virus in 8 days. Jared Goff, 24 of 39 for 215 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Amon-Ra St. Brown caught 8 passes for 73 yards, no touchdowns. DeAndre Swift, hurt. Craig Reynolds called up from the practice squad, and this is just Dennis Garcia must have been smiling the whole time because he thinks running backs are interchangeable. Craig Reynolds comes in out of nowhere and runs 11 times for 83 yards. I could only think of Dennis when I was watching Craig Reynolds look so good. Josh Woods had 13 tackles, 2 for a loss. The Lions weren't able to sustain any pressure, 1 sack, 4 quarterback hits. They lost cornerback Jerry Jacobs to a knee injury and Alex Anzalone for an ankle injury. Dan Campbell hopes DeAndre Swift and TJ Hawkinson will return to the lineup on Sunday. Linebackers Julian Okwara and Jalen Reeves-Maben were inactive and are listed as questionable this week. Again, in this spot, 70% of tickets, 86% of cash on the Cardinals. Just interesting spot. Is this a letdown situation for the Cardinals just because they're playing Detroit Lions? I know they're coming off a loss, but just because it's this COVID-riddled Lions squad? Take it away, Bebsie.
Well, I'm going to say this. After that L that the Cardinals took, that dropped them from the 1 seed to the 3 seed. And this Cardinals team does not want to play any more games than they have to. They're banged up. They're susceptible to injury. The thing about Kyler Murray is as dynamic as he is, he gets a little banged up, but he's not the same player. I think that's why they let him sit so long, partly because McCoy was a serviceable backup and they were still winning games with him. But also, he's just not the same player when he's not 100%. So much of his game relies on his quickness and his speed. So listen, they need this game. They need this game more than you think. However, I can see them getting up early and dominating and then taking their foot off the gas. Detroit maybe comes back with some garbage time touchdowns. So I think the look here is Cardinals in the first half. I'm not sure. I still think they probably cover full game. Again, the Cardinals very much need this win to stay in contention for that number 1 seed. It's going to be tough for them now that with this L on Monday night, but I think they come out firing against a Detroit Lions squad that, hey, you won your game. You won. You got your tie. You won your game, which was your Super Bowl, and now these guys. Injuries, COVID, terrible team. Can't lay money with them. Arizona needs this.
Why are we not on the under here? Dennis Trusty's going to do the Lions team total under 17. I cashed that very easily. I don't. I mean, that was the easiest bet on the board. You know what? Actually, your bet, Broncos minus 7.5. What did it end up at 11.5? That was the easiest bet on the board. Why are we not on the under here or the Lions team total under?
I think the only reason you wouldn't be is fear of garbage time touchdowns, which I think Jared Goff is capable of putting up against a team, especially if Arizona's pumping them and they take out some starters.
So, if I move over to the first half team total, it's 7.5. It's juiced to minus 150 to the under.
Ooh.
Yeah. All right. So is there any move here for you?
No, I'm going to stay off of this. However, I stand by everything I just said. I do think that the Cardinals come out big in this one because they want to keep pace. They want to keep pace with the rest of the NFC.
I think this is too high of a total. And look, I know what Ford Field can become. It can become a track meet at times, but these aren't, especially with Kyler Murray still coming back from getting hurt and James Conner slowing everything down, still a bull and still leading the league in touchdowns. I just feel like the under is a look. And obviously Bet365 is fighting against anybody betting the first half under by juicing it to minus 150 at 7.5, which is a sign to me that the team total under is also in play. Full game. And so, okay. All right. Interesting. And Cardinals, Lions, I'm moving towards the under 47.5 and the team total under. I just don't see this as a smash spot for Arizona. Let's move on. Next up, 1 p.m. Eastern, New York Jets 3-10, 1-5 on the road at Miami Dolphins, 6-7, 4-3 at home. We're at Hard Rock Stadium, Miami Gardens, Florida. 80 Fahrenheit, showers, 7-mile-per-hour winds. We have the Dolphins opening up at 8.5-point favorites. This total opening up at 43. It is now moved to 42. When we go over to the cash flow in this spot, we have here we go. We have 3,240 tickets in, 70% of the tickets, 85% of the cash on Tua and the Dolphins. 64% of tickets, 92% cash on the over, and yet it's dropped a point. Terry Walker looking at backing the Marlins. Let's go. New York Jets coming off an ugly 39 loss at home to the Saints on Sunday. They've now missed the postseason 11 straight years, tying the franchise longest drought set from 1970 to 1980, also the longest active streak in the NFL. The Jets went 3 of 14 on third down, had only 256 yards of offense. Zach Wilson, 19 of 42 for 202 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. He also ran 4 times for 33 yards. Braxton Berrios caught 6 passes for 52 yards. C.J. Mosley still playing hard, man, 17 tackles. The defense had 3 sacks. New York was missing wide receivers Corey Davis, groin, Elijah Moore, quad, Michael Carter, high ankle sprain, Tevin Coleman, concussion. Salah says that he expects Carter to return from the injured reserve for Sunday's game, Michael Carter, and he expects Elijah Moore to return from the injured reserve for the final 2 games of the season. So Elijah Moore not coming back for this one. Tyler Kroft, though, is returning from the injured reserve for the Sunday game. Cornerback Justin Hardy was placed on the COVID list. So Michael Carter, their cornerback, not to be confused with Michael Carter, their running back, and running back Tevin Coleman were inactive and are listed as questionable this week. Okay, Dolphins now have 4 players on the NFL's COVID-19 reserve list after adding safety Javon Holland and running back Philip Lindsay. We will go over all the teams that are coming in fresh off their bye week because they're all the teams that are really dealing with COVID issues. So Dolphins now have 4 players: Javon Holland, Philip Lindsay, Myles Gaskin, Salvin Ahmed. That means that all 3 running backs on the Dolphins' 53-man roster are on the COVID list. So they've elevated Duke Johnson to the active roster from the practice roster. So he's a COVID-19 replacement. And for the last 24 hours, they've been working out running backs at their facility. They were last seen winning their 5th straight game, 29 at home over the Giants in Week 13. 2 of 30 of 41 for 244 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Jalen Waddle caught 9 passes for 90 yards. Their defense swarmed Mike Glennon, sacked him 3 times, hit him 8 times. Xavier Howard had an interception. This Miami defense has given up 55 points, just 55 in their 5-game winning streak. They've allowed only 4 touchdowns in those games. Linebacker Jalen Phillips, the first Dolphins player since Cam Wake, whom I adored, ex-BC Lion Cam Wake, is the first. So Jalen Phillips is the first player since Cam Wake to have at least 2 sacks in back-to-back games. He's the first rookie to do so for Miami since Marco Coleman in 1992. Will Fuller gets another week now to try and get back on the field. Will he be? I don't know. Devontae Parker's back. Will Fuller get back? And only one team in NFL history has started 1-7 and reached 7-7. The 1974 New York Jets. The Dolphins are very likely to get to that spot. But with all their running backs hurt, knowing that Duke Johnson can't really hurt you, and all you have to do is stay in pass defense to make Tua struggle, and Robert Saleh being a defensive-minded coach, why do we not simply bet the under in this game? Bebsie, take it away.
Well, we simply don't bet it because it is very low. And also, I'm really sorry, Jose, but the Jets are a sloppy team. They could very well get pumped. I still don't even see them throwing garbage time touchdowns, to be honest with you. I guess if I had a free play, the under would be the look. I'm just saying it isn't something you're just like, yep, blindly take it. But yeah, look, it's Miami or no play here, even with the COVID. I don't think Duke Johnson is that much of a step down from any of their other running backs the way they've been playing. The only team that I think has a less impressive running back room in the NFL right now is probably the Buffalo Bills. So it's Miami or no play. I want to jump on this. I don't know what's holding me back, Maybe it's the sadness in Jose's eyes when I bet against his New York Jets, but I just can't. I can't pull the trigger on this one. See, such a sad lad. I don't know.
Gambler says Miami went from bums to 8.5-point favorites in 4 weeks. The NFL. We've made a lot of money off the Dolphins the last month. They've been excellent. They've been great to us, and it's been very easy backing them.
I think there's still money to be made here. To be honest with you, this is a surging football team, and my biggest concern for them with regards to COVID isn't the entire running back room. It's Javon Holland. I think Javon Holland is an absolute stud. And if he wasn't a safety, he'd have been drafted much higher than he was. He's a huge steal for Miami. But he's my bigger concern than this running back room that really hasn't done anything anyways.
I don't see. Dennis, I'm surprised by Dennis's comment here saying if it goes down, I'll play the over. Because I don't think that's a garbage time thought here. I love the under in this spot. I love the under. I love banking on Salah to slow down a Dolphins offense that's very pedestrian. And this Dolphins defense has been spectacular. Dennis Garcia said I had success taking these low totals over. My question's on Miami, who is really hit and miss. Thank you, Birdie, but I've made additions that are going to cost me money tonight, and I just wish I had have just sat back and I knew I had the perfect fucking card, even though we lost a wild game. I had the perfect card. And
I like Twatty's look on the Tua pass over props here because he's right. The books haven't quite caught up to how well he's been playing, and I think his number reflects it week in and week out. And I don't see this is where we disagree a little bit there, Jimmy. I don't see Salah being able to slow them down, and not because it's Salah, it's because they just don't have the personnel.
I mean, okay, how much better is the New York Giants defense than the New York Jets defense?
Quite a bit. The New York Giants defense is I think a solid defense. It's their offense that's an embarrassment.
Okay. I don't need to force shit here. I will just put just for my own notes an under with a question mark, or 4 question marks. All right. Let's roll through here. 1 p.m. Eastern, Dallas Cowboys 9-4, 5-2 on the road at the New York Giants, 4-9, 3-3 at home. We're at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. 41 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 13 miles per hour is the wind in East Rutherford. Oh shit, sorry, that's wrong. Let me pull this up. Here we go. We have this Cowboy squad opening up as 11.5-point favorites. That has moved to 10.5 at most books. 10.5 at most books. Then we go over to the cash flow in this spot. We have 4,123 tickets in. We have 52% of the tickets and 41% of the cash on the Giants. So interestingly enough, early more Giants tickets coming in than Dallas tickets, but the bigger bets coming in on the Cowboys. 49% of tickets on the under, 88% of cash on the under. Cowboys coming off a 27-20 win at Washington, closer than it should have been, following a 24-0 first half for the Cowboys. Dallas forced 4 turnovers and had 5 sacks in the first half alone. They finished with those 5 sacks. What did they finish with? 5 sacks and 9 quarterback hits. Dak was 22 of 39 for 211 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. CeeDee Lamb caught 7 passes for 61 yards. Michael Gallup caught 5 passes for 60. Zeke ran 12 times for 45 yards. He doesn't look very good. With Tony Pollard out, Corey Clement came in. He backed up Zeke. He ran 13 times for 44 yards. Pollard is listed as questionable this week. Micah Parsons had 2 more sacks, forced a fumble that was returned for a TD. He became the first rookie since Javon Curse in 99 and third in NFL history to have at least 1 sack in 6 consecutive games. What a beast Micah Parsons is. Randy Gregory had an interception. Left tackle or left tackle Tyron Smith limped off late in the third quarter with a left ankle injury, and he's out for week 15. He will not be in the lineup. Giants coming off their second straight loss in third and 4 games, 37-21 at the Chargers. It was 7-7 after the first quarter, but Chargers reeled in the next 30 points and took over. Glennon filled in for DJ and was 17-36 for 191 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and he lost a fumble. Jones is listed as questionable to return this week. I don't know if anybody has any inside information on whether he will be. Kyle Rudolph caught 2 passes for 66 yards. One was a 60-yard reception, the longest catch of Rudolph's 11-year career and the longest play for the Giants this season. Saquon Barkley looked a little better. He ran 16 times for 64 yards, caught 3 passes for 31 yards and a touchdown. Giants got some pressure, finished with 2 sacks and 6 quarterback hits. Defensive lineman Leonard Williams suffered an elbow injury during the second quarter, and he has a chance to play again this season and could even return as early as week 15. So he could even be in the lineup this week. Kadarius Toney was added to the COVID list. Team that's devoid of enough offensive talent because of injuries. Looks like they're not going to have Toney in the lineup. Cornerback Adoree Jackson was inactive last week. He's listed as questionable this week. Cowboys, huge favorites in New York. Bebsie, take it away.
I think it's too many points to give Dallas right now. This feels like a letdown spot for Dallas. I think they probably still win this game. Like the New York Giants are just they're not a good football team. They haven't been a good football team for a while. They have not had a winning season since the party boat photo. But they I don't know what's wrong with Dak. I know he hasn't been quite the same since injury, but I didn't get to watch as much of that game as I'd like to, but it feels like Dak's got a bit of the yips. Like some of those throws were just awful. So for that reason, I can't. I think it's too many points to spot in this one. I think it's New York Giants or no bet.
What do you think about the under? If 45 is a decent number, Glennon, we already have word from Birdie that Jones will not be in the lineup on Sunday, and I don't know how much it would matter necessarily if he was in the lineup. And you're talking about Prescott looking like he's got the yips. He doesn't look good. And Jerry Jones called him out, said, called him out this week. So if that's the case, why does this game not go under? 13-mile-per-hour winds. It's going to be cold. Not that cold, but cold, 41 Fahrenheit. Cowboys are used to very comfortable temperatures. Now they're going to get in the cold. They're going to run the ball a lot. Giants aren't going to be able to move the ball.
I think you're right. I think the under is the look in this game. I think if you had to bet a side, I'd bet the Giants, but I think the under is very much in play here. I don't feel this is a get-right spot for Dak. It's also that time of year where Dallas, if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, you start getting angrier and angrier. And if you're anyone else in the league, you just start laughing and repeating, are they still them boys? It's just it's implosion time. So you know what? I think I'm going to move on this under here. I can't see Dallas lighting it up.
Not Flush talking about the team total under for the Giants. Why not? It's higher than I thought it was going to be. We're still getting a 16.5, and it's not too juiced. Is that too low, do you think?
Not really. This Dallas defense is still a decent defense, especially with Micah Parsons tearing up the way he is.
I think they're both looks here, the under and the Giants team total under. What do you want me to make official for you, Bebsie?
I think I'm just going to take the game under, although I wouldn't fault anybody for taking the team total under for the Giants.
Well, you're getting a nice price over at Circa. You're getting under 45 at minus 107. That's a half price better and less juice than I will be getting when I bet it. I'm going to get a 44.5. Under 45 at minus 107 for Bebsie in this spot. And I agree. We roll on. 1 p.m. Eastern. Washington football team 6-7, 3-3 on the road at Philadelphia Eagles. 6-7, 1-4 at home. We're at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. 43 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy. 12 miles per hour. this all up. Here we go. There we go. Okay, we have Philadelphia opening up as 3.5-point favorites, and that is climbing very quickly. We now have a 5.5 on the board at Pinnacle. Philadelphia minus 5.5 is at plus 106. So it's really a 5. And this total opened up at 44. Now we see 43.5. Let's go over to the cash flow in this spot. We have 3,165 tickets in. 47% of the tickets on Philadelphia. 58% of the cash on those Eagles. 53% of tickets on the under. 94% of cash on that under. Washington has had 4 players test positive for COVID to start the week. Defensive tackles Jonathan Allen and Tim Settle. Cornerback Kendall Fuller and linebacker David Mayo are on the COVID list. They come in off a 27-20 home loss to the Cowboys. They were down 24-0 at the half. They were down 27-8 when they lost Taylor Heineke to a knee injury, and Kyle Allen led them on a short-lived comeback. Heineke was 11 of 25 for 122 yards and a touchdown and a pick. Kyle Allen was 4 of 9 for 53 yards and no touchdowns, no picks. They both lost fumbles. Heineke said that he's optimistic that he will be good to go this weekend. Antonio Gibson had a rough game, 10 carries for 36 yards. He did not look good. Cam Sims caught 3 passes for 69 yards and a touchdown. The defense had 4 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. Cole Holcomb returned an interception, 31 yards for a score, and Landon Collins also had an interception. Logan Thomas, they've done further testing, and I hope this is much to our man, Diehard MMA podcast chagrin, but they did reveal an ACL tear. So Logan Thomas will not be coming back at this point. Tyler Larson, their center, is in need of an MRI, and they still haven't given us an update. It's an Achilles injury. That does not look good. Offensive tackle Charles Leno Jr. Should be fine, Rivera says. He's got a back injury. Scary Terry has entered concussion protocol. And Samus Reyes, tight end, is also in concussion protocol. Then Casey Tuell, defensive end, has also he entered COVID protocol before the game. And Schweitzer, as you guys know, his season's done now. He's on injured reserve with the ankle injury. James Smith-Williams was placed on in COVID protocol. Look at all these guys placed in COVID protocol before the game. So I should have mentioned that. So Montez Sweat, Kalike Hudson, James Smith-Williams were all placed in COVID protocol before the game started. And now we had these additions to COVID protocol with Settle, Fuller, Jonathan Allen, and David Mayo. So this is a beat-up squad. Eagles come in fresh off their bye week. Wide receiver, just Watkins was put on COVID list yesterday. So this is the least amount of COVID additions off of a bye week. And I should probably double-check that. I guess I will when you talk. Prince of the City is on the under in this spot. These Eagles were last seen in a 33-18 win at the Jets in Week 13. Gardner Minshew went 28-25 for 242 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. There's no quarterback controversy. Hurts will be the starter when healthy, and he is healthy and will be the starter in Week 15 versus Washington. Dallas Goedert caught 6 passes for 105 yards. Miles Sanders ran 24 times for 120 yards. They had 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hits, and Marcus Epps had an interception. The Eagles' whole season's turned around. They started 2-5, and then they focused solely on their run game. And now they're the NFL's top rushing offense. And it's obviously led by Jalen Hurts. They have a streak of 6 straight games with 175-plus yards on the ground. They've had 3 different leading rushers in those games, Hurts, Miles Sanders, and Jordan Howard, and 4 players that have at least one 75-yard rushing performance in that game. Oh, sorry, Prince of the Sea says he's on the Eagles under and wins, not the under of the game. Thank you for clarifying that. But Twadi says he loves the under in this one. So does R. Both R and Twadi on the under. Here we go. Bebsie, Washington, Philadelphia Eagles. Let's roll.
Listen, I'm with Twadi on this one as well too. I love the under here. I think that's the play, especially with the sheer number of players out and the question marks surrounding the Washington football team. I just don't see the Eagles as a team that's going to dominate and put this one away, and I just don't see where Washington gets their offensive production. No Logan Thomas, Scary Terry possibly being out in concussion protocol. I just I don't know where the offensive production comes from, so I love the under here. I am going to move on that. I lean Eagles in this one. I'd be a lot happier to get it at the opening number. I see that I just popped over to 365. They still have a 4.5, which is a little more enticing. But I'm going to stay off that because I don't need to be on it, but I like this under here.
Well, you're going to get a better line than I would get if I bet it. I am interested in it. You're going to get from Circa an under 44.5 at -107. So Pinnacle, by the way, has already moved it to 43.5. The rest of the books are hanging 40s. Dennis Garcia says he took Washington. He says if Philly wants to make a playoff run, Minshew is the guy. Prince of the City says Washington wins this game.
Well, of course Prince says that.
Burgundy Bet says I'll be at this game and force to back Philly. Don't love it. Dennis Trusty says I'm scared they will be trading a field goal and a touchdown, getting ugly. 4.5 really scares me. I do like the Eagles here. Danny Lopez says Washington seems depleted with Philly off of rest. Seems like an Eagles spot. So Bebsie is moving on the under, and he's getting a nice line here thanks to good friends over at Circa Sports. Under 45 at -107 at Circa. And that is locked in. I think that you are right here, interested in the under. And Heineke is not going to be able to move around as comfortably as he has been. I imagine he's not going to want to leave the pocket too much. And it just makes a ton of sense. I think that spot makes a ton of sense. Mr. Fun Monk says Philly smash. Bebsie on the board with the under 44.5 at Circa. Let's roll on. Next up for us, we have 1 p.m. Eastern action. Tennessee Titans 9-4, 4-2 on the road at Pittsburgh Steelers, 6-1, 4-2-1 at home at Heinz Field in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 36 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 9 miles per hour. Tennessee opening up as 2.5-point favorites. That's moved to 1.5 at some books, 2 at others. And if you still want the -2.5, it's at +106 at Pinnacle. The total in this spot opened at 41.5 and is just sitting there at 41.5. Now, Flush Allen says, I see this as one of these spots where Philly puts up a big number. So let's see where the cash lies in this spot. We have, oh, sorry, that was the last one. Here we go. We have 3,581 tickets in, 50% of the tickets on the Steelers and 63% of the cash. 36% of the tickets on the under and 56% of the cash on the under. There's JT in the house is working, but popping in to say, let's cash. Thank you, JT. My guy, thank you for taking the time. All right, let's break this one down. And I do have a note that I'm going to need the injury report here. So let me just move over. All right, let's go. 36 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 9 miles per hour at Heinz Field. The Titans coming off a dominant 20-0 home victory over the Jacksonville Jaguars that saw them pick off Trevor Lawrence 4 times. It was their first home shutout in 20 years. 20 years. Jeff Swain was the leading receiver with 3 catches for 45 yards. A lot of that was because Julio Jones did return to the lineup for the first time in more than a month, and he took a lot of attention. He'd missed the past 3 games with a hamstring injury. And he caught 4 passes for 33 yards. He's missed 6 games this year because of various injuries. Deonta Foreman had 13 carries for 47 yards. The defense had 3 sacks, 6 quarterback hits, and prompted 4 holding calls in a false start. And it was a direct result of pressure, but not blitzes. Titans moved closer to clinching the AFC South for a second straight year. They have no one left on their schedule with a winning record. Now, we've already talked about Birdie's interest in possibly back in the Colts. I believe the number was plus 1,400, but the Titans have a very easy schedule moving forward, but they're clearly a beat-up team. Des Fitzpatrick was placed on the COVID list today. And Derrick Henry is expected to return from the injured reserve as early as the team's Week 18 matchup with the Texans, which is shocking, and I love it. But I did not expect him to come back. You have Tommy Hudson, their tight end, placed on injured reserve. His season is over. Troy Carter, their fullback, is hurting with an ankle injury. Then Tier Tart, David Long Jr., Janoris Jenkins were all inactive last week and are listed as questionable this week. Now we have these Pittsburgh Steelers up next. The Sorry, the Steelers coming off extra rest and prep after a wild 36-28 loss at Minnesota last Thursday, down 23-0 at the half. We're down 29 points in the third quarter before mounting a furious comeback. Vikings had a 300-66 advantage in total yards in the first half. Ben goes 28-40 for 308 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Chase Claypool caught 8 passes for 93 yards. Deontay Johnson, 5 for 76. James Washington, 4 catches for 65 yards and a touchdown. Freiermuth, 2 catches for 32 yards, 1 touchdown, and almost caught the touchdown that could have led to a 2-point convert to tie the game. Najee Harris ran 20 times for 94 yards, but their defense was awful. They lost TJ Watt to a hamstring injury in the second quarter and were incapable of stopping the run. It looks like it's just a tweak. Watt is hopeful to be back in the lineup this week. Dalvin Cook diced him up for 205 yards on the ground. He set a franchise record with 153 rushing yards in the first half. He needed only 14 carries to do that. The Steelers are allowing the most average yards per rush in the league. 5 yards per rush on these bums. 0 sacks, 6 quarterback hits. Akila Witherspoon had 2 interceptions. Cornerback Joe Hayden missed his 4th straight game. John LeGlue made his first NFL start, filling in at left guard for B.J. Finney. He's the 4th starter at left guard this year. Outside linebacker Alex Smith was hurt in the third quarter and did not return. He's expected to have avoided major injury, they say about Alex Smith. TJ Watt, supposed to be back. And then Spillane, Finney, Hayden, and Buggs, all inactive last week, questionable this week. Here we go. Bebsie, market moving slowly towards the home dog here. Titans, Steelers, take it away.
I just look. I know Tennessee is banged up. I know they're on the road. I just don't understand why this line is. I don't know why they're not favorites here. Pittsburgh is. They're 6-1. Remember they tied the Detroit Lions. I can't see Claypool's antics last week not being an issue. Like, what is with the Steelers and drafting ultra talented wide receivers who also happen to have discipline issues? Claypool, Juju and his TikTok and dancing on logos. Antonio Brown comes to mind. Like, what is going on with these Pittsburgh Steelers receivers? Also, Ben had a pretty big game last week. I don't see him putting together another big game, especially against the Titans defense that has impressed me this year, and I think everybody else. So why is this line favoring Pittsburgh? Do they believe that? I mean, when's the last time Pittsburgh had a losing season? Is this? I just don't. I don't get it. I don't get why Tennessee doesn't win this game by 7 at least.
Did anything that you saw from that 20-0 win over Jacksonville have you believing in this Titans offense?
No, I mean, I said last week that the Urban Meyer hatred factor meant that the Jags were not going to come out and play a good game. But I also think they did what they had to do against a weaker divisional opponent. And this is a team that sees the Colts, nipping at their heels. And I think they're going to play inspired football.
This game makes me extremely uncomfortable. It's seeing that the big bets are coming in on Pittsburgh right now and the market's moving towards them is very difficult to figure out. Twatty from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I wish we had Mark Schillingberg here. I don't know if we do right now. I don't think we do. But Twatty sees a 24-13 Titans victory. Is there anything that you want to make official here? Because this game, for me, is going to need more time.
It just makes me uncomfortable. The fact that the only reason I'm not betting this game is because the line doesn't make sense to me. Like, I'm not looking at this and I think it's in any way, shape, or form accurate. And it should be at this time of the year. I don't get it. It feels like a trap. It feels like you want me to take the Titans. Because they should outright win. Like, this is, if I'm going to bet this, I'm betting money line.
I feel like it's just so often we see this Pittsburgh team taking sharp action. It just feels like it's same story over and over again here with this Titans squad. So, at this point, we have Tennessee sitting at, they open as 2.5-point favorites. We see 1.5s on the board right now. Market clearly moving towards the Pittsburgh Steelers. Do you have any feeling on this total here, Bebsie? It opened at 41.5, and there's been no movement.
Oh yeah, Gerald Jones just corrected me. This is how little I've slept. Of course, you're absolutely right. I don't know what the fuck's the matter with me, but still, it still seems too small.
Do you have any interest in this total at 41.5?
It's real low. I don't think it's crazy for it to possibly go over, but I also like I said, Big Ben's arm looked halfway decent last game. I don't think he has 2 of those in a row. So tough to say. I lean over here.
Yeah, but the Steelers' defense just looked so atrocious. I don't see why the Titans wouldn't be able to put up points when they know they're going to have to. It was a very different game when they played Jacksonville, because Jacksonville was incapable of moving the ball, so there's no need to risk anything. Here, they're probably going to have to take some risks. I think this is too low.
And again, I think they're well aware that the Colts are right behind them, and this is a must-win situation for them. They can't afford to lose this game to an inferior Steelers team.
Dennis Garcia says, what's the floor for this total? 37? Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking, would I be surprised if one team wins 20-17? The answer is no. I guess that wouldn't be a surprise. I think that's the floor. It's 37. Much love, Real Deal Prime, my guy. Be well. The sharp bets have come in, or it looks like the bigger bets, I should say, have come in on the under at this point. 36% of tickets, 56% of the cash, but this is just too low. And to think that TJ Watt is going to be healthy here is I don't know if I can do that. And the whole Roethlisberger arm situation, I think that script will change a little bit as we're getting to the very last games of his career. Twatty says possibly 34 as the low. Let me just see. Has Pinnacle done anything with this? Let me just see here quickly if Pinnacle's done anything with this. They moved it at all on the total. Let me just move. Yeah, they've moved it towards the over. This was initially juiced to the under. The under was by a penny. It was minus 106 to the under. It's now minus 102 to the under. And that makes sense. I think this game goes over. The Titans had no reason to do anything offensively. I'm gonna move on the over. A bet that I've made very rarely. I've been a lot more unders for me generally. Titans full game over is something I'm moving on. Bebsie, do we move on, or is there anything you want to make official here?
I'm good to move on.
Harold Williams in the house. What's happening, my man? Thank you for joining us. Next up, we have 1 p.m. Eastern. Houston Texans 2-11, 1-5 on the road at Jacksonville Jaguars 2-11, 2-5 at home. TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville, Florida. 71 Fahrenheit. Showers 9 miles per hour. Jacksonville opening up at -3. There is a 3.5 on the board now. The threes are very juiced. This total opened up at 41. There's now 39s and 39.5. So when we go over to the cash flow in this spot, 2,975 tickets in, 33% of the tickets on Jacksonville, 60% of the cash. So the big bets coming in on Jacksonville, 68% of tickets on the over, and 99% of the cash. This is a bum fight extraordinaire. Brady's already on the Jags at -3. Texans coming off an ugly 33-13 home loss to the Seahawks. Davis Mills threw for a career high 331 yards. He was 33 of 49 for a touchdown, no picks. He looked great early. He completed his first 14 passes, which was a franchise record, but struggled after that, 19 of 35. He's 0-7 as a starter, and the Texans were shut out, in the second half. So Brandon Cooks caught 8 passes for 101 yards. Nico Collins caught 5 passes for 69 yards. Rex Burkhead ran 11 times for 40 yards and then left in the third quarter with a groin injury. As a team, the Texans ran 25 times for just 63 yards. And now they might not have Burkhead. I'm going to do a quick update on whether they will or not. They could get no pressure on Wilson. They finished with 0 sacks, 1 quarterback hit. Wide receiver Davian Davis injured his ankle in the first quarter. He didn't return. Grugier Hill, their linebacker, was carted off with a knee injury in the third quarter. They lost Reed to a concussion. He's in concussion protocol. Defensive back Desmond King left in the fourth quarter. He's also in concussion protocol. So and Grugier Hill was just put on the COVID list. Davian Davis is done for the year with a fractured lower left leg. Scotty Phillips won't be activated from the injured reserve, so he's not coming back this year. Rex Burkhead is day-to-day, so he could come back. And they say that Desmond King, their cornerback, did not suffer a concussion, but Justin Reed, their safety, did suffer a concussion, so he's in COVID protocol. Then Terrence Brooks, Kevin Pierre-Louis, and Jimmy Moreland all inactive last week and listed as questionable this week. So let's move on to these Jacksonville Jaguars. Sorry, let me just move this over here quickly. Here we go. The Jags coming off an ugly 20-0 shutout loss at Tennessee. They were shut out in the game for the 4th time in franchise history, first time since 2009. Lost their 5th straight overall, their 8th straight in Nashville, 9th consecutive loss in the AFC South, and 15th straight loss on the road. Trevor Lawrence did not look good, 24-40 for 221 yards, no touchdowns, 4 picks. They could do absolutely nothing on the ground. They ran 8 times for 8 yards. Marvin Jones caught 6 passes for 70 yards. Treadwell caught 4 for 68. Chanot caught 4 for 34. Their defense was strong against the pedestrian Titan offense. They got 4 sacks, 10 quarterback hits, and Carlos Hyde is in concussion protocol. And they're a pretty healthy group. You know, Brandon Linder inactive last week, questionable this week. Take it away here. Bum fight extraordinaire. Texans Jags.
They should flex this game to not bother being played. People could get hurt out there. Why bother with this piece of shit game? Wow, this is a 2-11, 2-11. What a terrible matchup here. Listen, on paper, Jacksonville Jaguars are a much better team, but they hate the coach, and that's been trickling out, and it's been showing. Poor Trevor Lawrence. I hope he has a real coach for next year. I do believe that this team is absolutely not willing to get up and play for their coach. I think James Robinson might hate him the most. Starting out, we talked about this week 1 when James Robinson was the backup to Carlos Hyde after a phenomenal rookie season. He gets replaced by journeyman Carlos Hyde because Carlos used to be Urban's running back in college. I listen, the Jags should win this game. They're at home. They are the better team. They have the better personnel. I just think you have to, if you're going to bet this shit game, you have to bet the Texans, and it has everything to do with this locker room hating Urban Meyer.
Yeah, I guess I don't mean to, as Viper knows, I love bum fights and, any opportunity to have action on something that I think there's a legitimate angle, and I'll try and find it. But I don't want here. Now, I think even if Houston got to the 3.5, I don't think I'd want them. And I agree. I don't want Urban Meyer. So I don't want anything to do with it. I'm with you. I don't want anything to do with it. I'm not going to make a move on it. I don't want to have action on it. Do you want anything official here, Bebsie?
Good Lord, no.
We move on. 4:05 p.m. Eastern. We've hit afternoon action. Cincinnati Bengals 7-6, 4-2 on the road at Denver Broncos. 7-6, 4-3 at home. We're at Mile High in Denver, Colorado. 53 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 8 miles per hour. And thank you, Williams Wrestling, my guy. Let's move over to the odds here. This one's going to be fun. Denver opening up at -1.5, -105. There's been no movement at Pinnacle. This total opening up at 43.5 at -106 to the over. It's now 43.5 -107. So very little movement in this game market wise. Let's see where the cash lies. We have 3,341 tickets in. 17% of the tickets on Denver and 20% of the cash. It's interesting. And no market movement. 51% of tickets on the over and 62% of cash on that over. Bengals coming off a disappointing 26-23 loss in overtime at home to the Niners on Sunday. Joe Burrow, 25 of 34, 348 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He said that he has about 85% velocity with his sore pinky finger on his throwing hand that he dislocated a week ago. T. Higgins caught 5 passes for 114 yards. Jamar Chase caught 5 for 77 and 2 touchdowns. Joe Mixon did not look good for a second week in a row. 18 carries for 58 yards. He did go over 1,000 yards rushing, and Chase did go over 1,000 yards receiving. The defense was strong without Logan Wilson. 5 sacks, 9 quarterback hits. I thought they'd look worse. Trey Hendrickson suffered a back injury in the second quarter, and Riley Reif, their right tackle, left with an ankle injury in the fourth quarter and didn't return. So Reif is questionable, as is Eli Apple with an ankle injury. Clay Johnston, their linebacker, was moved on the COVID-19 list. Awuzie re-injured his foot, but says that he's going to be available for week 5. And Trey Hendrickson is dealing with back spasms, so he thinks he could play. So Marcus Bailey, linebacker, running back Chris Evans, defensive tackle Tyler Shelvin, and Logan Wilson. Logan Wilson said he would play in week 15. So he said that before week 14 popped off. Broncos coming off a dominant 38-10 home win over a COVID-riddled Detroit Lions squad. They played with heavy hearts after the passing of 33-year-old Demaryius Thomas. Teddy Bridgewater, 18 and 25 for 179 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Noah Fant caught 4 passes for 51 yards. Jerry Jeudy caught 5 passes for 47 yards. Melvin Gordon returned from an injury to run 24 times for 111 yards and 2 touchdowns. He whined like a little bitch to the media in the week leading up to the game about how everybody wants Javonte Williams as the running back, and he's sad and fuck off. He ran 15 times Javonte Williams for 73 yards and a touchdown. He also caught a 10-yard TD pass. So both running backs had 2 touchdowns each. Draymond Jones had 2 sacks. He looked really good at times. Justin Simmons had an interception. Inside linebacker Kenny Young is in concussion protocol. Defensive end Shelby Harris is questionable with a knee injury. Safety PJ Locke, running back Mike Boone, linebacker Malik Reed are all on the COVID list. Center Brett Jones was taken off the COVID list. Broncos here, Bebsie, are lukewarm favorites. Do you trust them after an emotional game versus a shit team?
Yes, I do. For the simple reason that, listen, the Bengals lost against the Niners, and I was wrong about that, but I was exactly right about what they would do, and that was exploit the problematic secondary for the 49ers. But not that much. And that's had large in part to do with the fact that Nick Bosa and George Kittle put the offense and defense of the Niners on their back in that game. But you're not going to be able to do that against this Broncos defense and secondary. The only reason Cincinnati lost that game against the Niners was the fumbleitis and the muff punts. But Cincinnati didn't convince me that they can do that much against a shoddy secondary, let alone this Denver Broncos secondary. And look, the Denver Broncos are at home. They're a more complete team, I believe, top to bottom. Obviously, the quarterback nod goes to Burrow. But I think the coaching nod goes to Fangio here. I really thought Taylor lost a winnable game this week, and I think that happens again here in Denver. And for that reason, I'm on the Broncos.
All right. Well, let's see what we can get you. We can get you a -1.5, a -105. See if Circa wants to mess around. By the way, Circa has now locked up the Panthers Bills game. So maybe concern about Josh Allen there. But this one is at 2.5. Interesting. They mess with these numbers sometimes at Circa. The Broncos are 2.5 point favorites, but at +106. So you can take the Bengals +2.5, but at -125. And all right, let's move here in this spot and hook you up with the Broncos -1.5 and -105 available at Pinnacle for Bebsie. Broncos -1.5 at Pinnacle. And interesting stuff coming from the chat. Nuke Worker, yeah, get your rest, man. 6 a.m. is coming real soon. And thank you for your hustle, man. And thank you for hanging with us, my guy. Twatty says Teddy's wasting Sutton, Judy, Patrick, Williams, and Gordon won't be able to keep up with Cincy's offense. Cincy +110. Dennis Garcia says Denver matches up perfectly with Cincinnati. So he loves Denver here, but just a small play. He needs 2 and 2 from Denver for the season win total. Let's go Brandon on the Broncos, Terry Walker on the Bengals. And this is a spot where I'm going to need more time. Mr. Gokster, who knows this Broncos team inside and out, says, personally, I think this one goes under. What do you think of the total here? It's not moved at 43.5, Bebsie.
That's interesting. I probably tend to agree, and just because I do agree that the Broncos match up well. The other thing to take into consideration is if Hendrickson said he's going to play and it's spasms, then that'll be a lift for the Bengals. But if he can't play, man, he is so good, and he's played phenomenal all year, and that's a monumental loss for them. So if he's dealing with back issues coming into the game and it's questionable, then but even if that's the case, I don't see Denver's offense right now is not really able to light anyone up, although they do have some great personnel there.
Twatty likes the Cincy team total over 20.5. Viper says Broncos have the DBs and safeties to match up well with the Bengals.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just that secondary is so good. And the Bengals really not being able to take advantage of the Niners' weakened secondary this week. I mean, they did and they didn't. Yeah, 350 yards and 2 touchdowns, no picks. Although there was one pick that was negated by a hands to the face that was away from the play.
Well, Bebsie's locked in on the Broncos. That game's going to require more time for me. Let's move on to the next spot. Atlanta Falcons at San Francisco 49ers. Falcons 6-7, 5-2 on the road. Niners 7-6, 2-4 at home. We're at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California. 51 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 7 miles per hour. These Niners open up at -8. That -8 is taking 14 cents of action at Pinnacle. The other books have just straight up moved it to 9, and some of the dice game books have moved it to 9.5. This total opened up at 44.5. Now we see 46s, and Pinnacle has moved it to 46.5. When we go over to the cash flow in the spot, 3,972 tickets in, 75% of the tickets on the Niners, and 92% of the cash on the Niners. Big market move towards them. By the way, 53% tickets on the under, 97% cash on the under, and yet it's moving towards the over. Harold Williams says this 9 is too much. Falcons improved to 6-2 on the road this season. They're listed as 5-2 on the road, but they're 5-2 because they were the designated home team in London, England when they beat the Jets. They've been very good away from Atlanta. Matt Ryan, 19-28 for 190 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Russell Gage caught 4 passes for 64 yards. Kyle Pitts caught 5 for 61. Cordell Patterson ran 16 times for 58 yards. Mike Davis ran 11 times for 44 yards. They didn't get a ton of pressure from their defense. They ended up with 1 sack and 4 quarterback hits, but they got the job done. Kyle Walker intercepted his boyhood idol Cam Newton, returned at 66 yards for a score. A.J. Terrell also had an interception. The Falcons are among 5 teams in the NFC tied at 6-7 and are in the wild card hunt, says the notes. But I don't believe that shit. Safety Eric Harris and linebacker Emmanuel Ellerbe both left in the third quarter and didn't return. Eric Harris left with a chest injury, and that turned out to be a torn pectoral. He's done for the year. Ellerbe has a knee injury, but that's not the problem. He's now on the COVID list. Dante Fowler, questionable with a calf injury. Safety Richie Gant and their linebacker Ogundeji were inactive and are listed as questionable this week. Niners coming off a 26-23 overtime victory at Cincinnati. Robbie Gould missed a 47-yard field goal with 4 seconds left in regulation. That would have won it. I wanted him to hit that field goal, but by him missing it, I ended up pushing the total at 49, and I still got the Niners cash. So it helped me out a lot. Jimmy G was 27-41 for 296 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. George Kittle, another monster game, 13 receptions for 151 yards and a touchdown. He has 6 touchdowns in the last 6 games. Brandon Ayuk, It looks like the patience with him is going to reward the Niners. 6 catches for 62 yards and the game-winning TD in overtime. Jeff Wilson ran 13 times for 56 yards. Azeez Al-Shaair had 11 tackles, 3 for a loss, 1 sack before leaving with an elbow injury in the third quarter, and he didn't return. The MRI on Monday, and I don't know what the information was. I don't know if you have that info, Bebsie. They had 5 sacks and 6 quarterback hits. Nick Bosa had 2 sacks. That's 14 sacks for Bosa on the year. And Robbie Gould can't be trusted. So you have Cannon in concussion, placed on the injured reserve with the concussion. You have Mosley placed on injured reserve with the ankle injury. We're waiting on the MRI for Azeez. You have Ambry Thomas with a head injury, so he's in concussion protocol. You have Fred Warner dealing with an ankle injury, who's expected to play against the Falcons. You have Dee Ford, who is not expected to return this season from the back injury, says Kyle Shanahan. And then Greenlaw, Dante Johnson, Maurice Hurst, and Elijah Mitchell, inactive last week and questionable this week. Should the Niners be this big of a favorite, Bebsie, and are you betting this game?
No, I think it's too many points. A lot of it has to do with the injuries. A lot of it has to do with the Atlanta Falcons having they had their number the last time. The Niners, the year they went to the Super Bowl, they almost lost home field advantage by losing to a bad Atlanta Falcons team. Mind you, that was a brilliant last-second touchdown to Julio Jones, who's no longer there. But listen, the Atlanta Falcons, their best weapon is Kyle Pitts, and the Niners are absolutely dominant against tight ends. But with Azeez out, and I don't know the answer to that question either, if he's coming back or not, that is a big blow to that defense that's already super depleted in the secondary. I think it's just too many points. Now, they should be getting Mitchell back on offense, which will be a big lift to their run game. But listen, as much as Kittle is an absolute beast, he was limping around a lot last game. That's something else I'd like to keep my eye on. But I think the over is a potential look here. Again, that has a lot to do with how weak the Niners secondary is, and just the fact that they're going to have to put up a lot of points in this one, I think, to win it. So the over is a lean for me. The points is too many, so I would probably lean Atlanta to cover here.
Yeah, that does make sense. It does feel like too many points, and with the Niners being hammered the way they are, makes me want to take a step back. This is a twofold game for me now with futures. I mean, I wish I had to bet more just to make it interesting, but for whatever reason, I only bet $50 on that Niners conference and Super Bowl at 30-1 and 60-1. But I have the Falcons under 7.5 wins at plus 105.
If the Niners had any corners, they would be dominant. They were all over Burrow, but their corners couldn't hold coverage for a couple of seconds ever. And I think that'll be a problem again. I mean, Matt Ryan's a good enough quarterback to exploit that again here.
Is this something that you want to bet?
I'm going to think about this. I think I'll probably end up moving on this over. I won't move on either side here, but yeah, the over I think is a real look.
And Dennis Garcia likes the over, and this market is moving quickly towards the over, and Pinnacle leading the way in that regard. They've moved it to 46.5. Okay, is this something you're going to sit on both side and total at this point?
Yeah, I'm not going to make any official plays here.
All right, we move on to Seattle Seahawks at Los Angeles Rams. These Rams open up at -7. That quickly moves to -6. There's some books saying that there's 4.5s out there. Let me just see if let me just move to a book right now. And yes, these are stale lines. So the Seahawks have moved to 4.5. I should pull up Pinnacle. I should pull up. I'm going to pull up Pinnacle because it looks like these lines aren't. I'm just going to pull up Pinnacle here. I don't think these lines are refreshing at this point. All right, let's break it down here. So this has moved from 7 to 4.5. There must be some injury stuff that we're going to uncover here. And it's 50-50 on the amount of tickets. And they're not giving us cash flow. Just 2,912 tickets in. 62% of tickets are on the over in this spot. We're at SoFi. Seahawks 5-8, 3-4 on the road. Rams 8-4, 4-2 at home. Seahawks coming off a dominant 33-13 win at the lowly Texans. Russell Wilson 17-28 for 260 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. It was Wilson's 89th game with 2 TD passes or more. That passes Dan Marino for the second most games in the player's first 10 NFL seasons. Peyton Manning is first with 92. Tyler Lockett caught 5 passes for 142 yards and a touchdown. That's 1,023 yards this season. So he joins Steve Largent. God, he's one of my favorite players of my youth for sure. As the only players in franchise history to have at least 1,000 yards receiving in 3 straight seasons. Rashard Penny ran 16 times for a career high 137 yards and 2 touchdowns. They got 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. Cornerback Gavin Heslop was carted off the field, and it looks like it's a bad injury. Same with defensive tackle Brian Moan, sprained his knee. DJ Reed they're calling it a bruised chest. Let's take a closer look at this stuff. So DJ Reed is expected to play against the Rams. PCL strain from Moan, so he's going to be out. And as we know, Jamal Adams' season is over. Heslop did have to go through successful surgery on his leg. He is done for the season. Fuller, Homer, and Shell all inactive last week and questionable this week. Yes, Gerald Jones, this list is long. Let's go. LA Rams added Odell Beckham Jr. and 8 other players to the reserve COVID-19 list on Tuesday. So we have Beckham, defensive back Terrell Burgess, tight end Bryson Hopkins, defensive back Juju Hughes, offensive tackle Alaric Jackson, defensive tackle Sebastian Joseph Day, safety Jordan Fuller, defensive end Jonah Williams and Tyler Hall were also added, but they're practice squad members. The 9 players that were added to the reserve COVID list joined the 4 who were placed there over the past 3 days that weren't in the lineup. Running back Darrell Henderson, right tackle Rob Havenstein, and cornerback Jalen Ramsey, and cornerback Dante Dayon. Tight end Tyler Higbee was removed from the COVID list. Higbee, it was a false positive. So Higbee should have played, could have played, didn't play. So that is the big market move. I should have known that. I know that from my notes, but there's just so many games and I'm a little blurred, and I watched the market move there and didn't know what was going on. Rams coming off a big 30-23 victory at Arizona. Stafford 23-30 for 287 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Cooper Kupp got 13 more passes for 123 yards and a touchdown. We already talked about OBJ being on that COVID list. He caught 6 passes for 77 yards and a touchdown. That's his 3rd touchdown since joining the team. He did not have a touchdown in 6 games with Cleveland, and it was the first time he scored touchdowns in 3 straight games since 2015. Sonny Michel ran 20 times for 79 yards. Aaron Donald was a monster, got 3 of the team's 4 sacks. Leonard Floyd had 8 tackles, 1 quarterback hit, and 1 interception. Ernest Jones had an interception and 7 tackles. Andre Whitworth made NFL history by becoming the first player to start the game at left tackle at 40 years of age. And Brian Allen and Terrell Lewis were both inactive last week and are listed as questionable this week. A lot of COVID issues, but you have to, from a capping perspective, decide how important these players are to this squad. Rams open up as 7-point favorites, now 4.5-point favorites. Take it away, Bebsie.
Well, I think there's a ton of value in taking the Rams here because, again, I think there's enough time to maybe get some of those players back off of COVID. But also, their stars on defense are still in. And this Rams team has owned this Seahawks team. Also, this Rams team coming off a win that puts them back in contention of coming back and winning this division after a 3-game slide that had everyone worried about them. Look, the Seattle Seahawks team is not very good. We talked about the Niners game in which they had no business winning and they snuck it out. And then you beat up on a Houston Texans team that gives you this 2-game streak that all of a sudden people are like, "Oh, the Seahawks have life." I do not think so. I think the Seahawks get owned this week by the Rams. Again, they're going to get some of these players back, I think, but also the key players, by and large, with the exception of Odell Beckham, who is quickly becoming a key player on this team. But I think, again, there's a good chance OBJ's back. I think if you want to bet the Rams, bet them now. I think there's value in it.
I guess I'm going to pull up FanDuel. They're saying there's a 4 at FanDuel. Is that something that you want to do right now, or are you going to wait till there's more information?
Well, if there's more information, I think it's only going to hurt me. So it's now or never.
And you're going to stay off at this point?
Well, my fear is that what if there's more players added to COVID?
Yeah. It is at 4. Yeah, 4 at FanDuel. Okay. So no move at this point. Again, dealing with a ton of issues. But Twadi says 4 is a gift.
I kind of agree there. You know what? I am going to move on it. I just think this Rams team is so much better.
All right. So Bebsie is moving on the Rams -4 at -114.
I think this Rams team finally puts this Seattle Seahawks team out of their misery this year.
Put them to bed. Interesting. And Bet365 is hanging the 4.5 right now. Very, very, very interesting. Let's go. Brandon says Rams own. Chris Brady's with me on the Blazers. I'm nervous about that spot. I did take the Knicks first half, so I just lost a little bit of vig on that game because I'd lost the full game +5. Okay, let's move on. Next spot, Green Bay Packers at Baltimore Ravens is next. Let me just move this over here. And sorry, so many pages open. I apologize. All right. Let's go to work here. Packers 10-3, 4-3 in the road. Ravens 8-5, 5-1 at home at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland. 44 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 7 miles per hour. Packers opening up at -4.5. That's where they stand now, and this total sitting at 43.5. When we go over to the cash flow in this spot, we have 3,139 tickets in, 83% of the tickets, 89% of the cash on the Packers, 86% of the tickets on the over, and not very 4.5 points doesn't sound like much. It also sounds like Lamar Jackson will be starting at quarterback for the Ravens. The market sitting at 4.5. Packers coming off a wild 45-30 win at home over Chicago on Sunday night. Aaron Rodgers 29-37 for 341 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. He has 61 career touchdown passes against the Bears. That's the most all-time against Chicago. That's one more than Brett Favre. Packers are 23-5 against the Bears in games Rodgers has started. Rodgers played through a broken toe that has limited his practice time over the last month. He says it feels worse. I don't know what kind of setback I had tonight, but we'll look at it tomorrow.
Definitely he's faking.
Back tonight. He is. It's so funny. So he's 23-5 against the Bears in games that he started, because my friend Sonny and I, and you know Sonny well too, we were in Vegas with our girlfriends, and we had the Monday nighter, Bears Packers, and Packers were big favorites. And I was like, trying to figure out for weeks, like, how do we make money off this game? And we made a big bet, and we said we'd take the girls to the Gordon Ramsay fucking restaurant if the bet cashed, and it was the over. We took the over, and on the third play of the game, Aaron Rodgers broke his shoulder, and we took him to Outback for a fucking onion loaf. Devontae Adams caught 10 passes for 121 yards and 2 touchdowns. Alan Lazard caught 6 passes for 75 yards and a touchdown. A.J. Dillon ran 15 times for 71 yards. Preston Smith had 2 sacks. The team had 9 quarterback hits. But those were the only sacks. They were from Preston Smith. Rasul Douglas, what a revelation he's been this year. Returned an interception, 55 yards for a touchdown. Chandon Sullivan also had an interception. Right tackle Billy Turner injured his knee in the second quarter, didn't return. Malik Taylor dealt with an abdominal injury. Equinema St. Brown is in concussion protocol. Dominique Daphne injured his ankle. So So Aaron Rodgers says he's good to go. It's just pain management, but I'm going to keep playing and probably not practicing. Bakhtiari, we don't know if he's going to play this year. Jair Alexander, they're hoping to get him back. He's going to be at a bare minimum in practice individual drills, so don't expect him in the lineup yet, but soon. Daphne won't. We don't know about Daphne's ankle injury at this point. We don't know about Taylor, Quinnimus Brown, or any of those guys that we just talked about. And let's move on to the next spot with the Baltimore Ravens. Coming in off a 24-22 loss that saw 2019 MVP Lamar Jackson leave in the beginning of the second quarter with a low ankle sprain. He's listed as questionable this week, but the market's telling us he's going to play. But Tyler Huntley has been pretty good after he got strip sacked and returned for a score by Myles Garrett. And he did fumble a second time, but he did go 27-38 for 270 yards and a touchdown. He ran 6 times for 45 yards. Mark Andrews caught 11 passes for 115 yards and a touchdown, breaking Baltimore's single-season record for yards receiving by a tight end. That's Todd Heaps, 855 in 2005. Rashad Bateman caught 7 passes for 103 yards. He's rolling right now. Devonta Freeman ran 13 times for 64 yards. The Ravens' offense was 1 for 12 on third down and 3 for 4 on fourth down. So Ravens defense struggled to put any kind of pressure on Baker. 0 sacks, 1 quarterback hit. Anthony Everett had 1 interception for 21 yards. Calais Campbell was hurt in the first quarter, didn't return. He's listed as questionable with a soft tissue injury. Wide receiver Tylan Wallace got hurt in the second quarter with a head injury, and he's in concussion protocol. Cornerback Jimmy Smith, wide receiver Miles Boykin, guard Patrick McCarry, who we didn't think would be out for very long. It's just a hand injury for him. Fullback Patrick Ricard were all inactive list is questionable this week. Center Tristan Colin is being added to the COVID list. And interesting here, linebacker Pernell McPhee is very close to returning from the injured reserve and may be in the lineup here at home against the Packers. What do you think about this 4.5-point spread, Bebsie?
Listen, I think my lean is probably with Baltimore just for a value purpose alone. I think the Green Bay Packers do win this game. However, my look in this game is going to be the Green Bay Packers team total over, just because I cannot see how they slow down Aaron Rodgers in this Green Bay offense. You have no corners. Aaron Rodgers is going to pick that secondary apart. And then plus you got a good 1-2 punch at running back right now. So I think this is a very, very cashable bet. And I don't have a ton of confidence in any other play except for this one.
And Twatty on the same spot. He said, Jesus, Packers team total over 23.5, please and thank you. Packers can run or throw on you. So he's with you on this spot. Let's see what we are dealing with here. Let me just move over because Pinnacle, I imagine, will give us the best line on this. And it's not on the board.
I didn't see a 23.5. I saw a 24.
Yeah, I mean, this is a spot where wow, it's not on the board at Circa either. Not on the board at Pinnacle, not on the board at Circa. It is on the board at Bet365, that team prop at 24.5, heavily juiced to the under. So you have no VIG minus 105, but the 23.5 and 24.5 is a key number. I wonder what book I could find this at. Let me try FanDuel. See if we can. And here we go. A lot of this is locked at FanDuel. The total's locked. Yeah. I wonder. Oh, Twatty got it at Sugar House. So I'm going to look this up for you, and I'm going to find a book that's under 24. I'm sure I can find a 23.5, and if there's one at Sugar House, I'll just get that for you. So Sugar House, Bebsie, Packers team total over, and we're looking for a 23.5. He says it's right now at Sugar House. So I'll actually, if you mind, Twatty, what's the juice associated with that? Because then we can just lock it in. That makes a ton of sense to me. I mean, I can't do anything with it now. I don't want that 24.5, even though it's just minus 105 VIG, but that makes sense to me. And what do you think of the Packers as 4.5-point favorites?
Look, I think it's more than possible. Their defense has been somehow still good despite all the injuries. So I do think they have a massive advantage there. I just think, Baltimore's still kind of surprising, even with the injuries. I do have serious question marks about Lamar's ankle, and just his playing style on that ankle. So I'm kind of surprised he's back already. But I don't know. I lean Ravens with the points, and that's strictly a value look. But I don't have a strong lean either way.
Well, Bebsie is locked in. Let's move on to the Sunday Nighter. Sunday Nighter, Saints, Bucks. Buccaneers opening up as 11.5-point favorites. It's moved to 11 or 10.5. Pinnacle's held up the 11.5 right now, but if you want the Buccaneers minus 11.5, it's at plus 106. This total at 46.5. We go over to the cash flow for the Sunday Nighter. We have 4,249 tickets in. 37% of tickets are on the Buccaneers and 46% of cash. I find that fascinating that so much of the public would be backing New Orleans here, and also that the bigger bets are still coming in on the Bucks, and yet this market's moving towards the Saints. 30% of the tickets on the under, 66% of cash on this under. Terry Walker looking at Tampa and the over. Saints coming in off a big 39 win at the Jets to snap their 5-game losing streak. Taysom Hill 15-21 for 175 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He ran 11 times for 73 yards and 2 touchdowns. He fumbled twice but recovered both of them. Alvin Kamara returned from injury, ran 27 times for 120 yards and a touchdown, caught 4 passes for 25 yards. Nick Vannett led receivers with 3 catches for 44 yards. Quan Alexander had 2 sacks. Mark Ingram, Ty Montgomery, and Cameron Jordan remain on the COVID list after missing last week's game. Linebacker Caden Ellis, wide receiver Lil Jordan Humphrey, offensive tackle Ryan Ramczyk, and linebacker Pete Werner were all inactive last week and are questionable this week. Buccaneers coming off their 4th straight win, 33-27 at home over Buffalo in overtime. We talked about the loss for those Bills backers, and it did my heart did go out to you guys. I stayed off the game. Tom Brady was 31-46 for 363 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. It was his 10th straight win over the Bills, and his career record against them is 33-3. He became the NFL's all-time completions leader, and he threw his 700th touchdown pass, including playoffs. Chris Godwin caught 10 passes for 105 yards. Mike Evans caught 6 passes for 91 yards and a touchdown. Our Pistol Pete Loshak was on the NFL Sunday Pub Hub, and I don't remember him in my life betting a player prop. And I said that after he left, and I should have just immediately tailed it. Like, if he's going to bet a player prop, something he doesn't do, and it was 60.5 receiving yards, and he caught 6 passes for 91 yards and a touchdown. Gronk caught 5 passes for 62 yards. By the way, Pistol Pete Loshak will be joining us again this week. He's been on our show for 3 different weeks, and each week he's gone 2-1. So I want him back. Rashard Perryman, 1 catch, game-winning 58-yard catch and run for a TD in overtime. Leonard Fournette ran 19 times for 113 yards and a touchdown. He caught 4 passes for 19 yards. God, he's been good. Devin White, 10 tackles, 1.5 sacks. As a team, they had 3 sacks, 11 quarterback hits. Richard Sherman had an interception and looked healthy out there. They played without safety Jordan Whitehead. He was inactive for the 2nd straight week with a calf injury. Running back Giovanni Bernard sat out the second half because his hip was hurting, and it's a hip strain and a sprained MCL of his knee. He's going to miss more time. He will not be there. Cornerback Jamal Dean also didn't play at halftime. He is in concussion protocol. It was an illness, but they think it was a concussion issue. So they're taking a closer look at Jamal Dean. Take it away here. Is there any interest on these Saints? Looks like the market's moving towards them here, Bebsie.
I mean, it's a lot of points, but I don't want to bet against Tampa at home, especially given just how bad this Saints team has looked as of late. I got no faith in Taysom Hill. And listen, we've talked about this. Many of the cappers in this chat feel the same way. You fade Tampa on the road, you bet them at home. And even at 11 points, I still think they're capable of doing this. This feels like a smash.
What do you think of Twaddy's look here? It says, when the Saints can't run against this defense, what are they going to do? likes the under?
I don't know if I like the under because I can see Tampa putting up points in bunches. I don't know. Maybe the team total under for New Orleans is a look. I agree with him that if you're gonna bet, yeah, he's got Tampa to cover here. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, he's right. Saints still have a good defense. I don't know what my look is in this one other than team total under for the Saints.
Mr. Fun Monk says Taysom Hill not being able to run against Tampa will limit New Orleans offense severely. Not good. Let's go. Brandon doesn't like this number. That says expects Tampa Bay still to take care of business. Viper MB's on the Tampa team total over. Burgundy Bet says Tampa stops the run. What do the Saints do after that? Yeah, I think that Saints team total under is interesting. Let's just see what it's at right now at Bet365 just as a peek and see, because I'll be staring at these games for hours after this. 16.5 juice to the over. That's too low, I think. Just a little too low. A little too low. Interesting spot here. This total at 46.5. So if you had a free $500 bet to make right now on the total, this total has not moved at 46.5. Would you go over or under?
I lean over with minimal confidence. I'd be throwing that $500 down, assuming I'll never see it again.
That is your Sunday nighter, Saints, Buccaneers. We move on to the Monday nighter and the last game on the card. No buys this week, so all 16 games being broken down. And here's number 16. Minnesota Vikings, 6-7, 2-5 on the road at Chicago Bears, 4-9, 2-4 at home at Soldier Field in Chicago, Illinois, 31 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 8 miles per hour. By the way, Dennis Garcia says, I prefer the under, but also like Nola, and he has bet both. And Gambler says the Pats' money line is his best bet. Last gift from the books, he says. All right, Monday nighter. We have Minnesota opening up as 3.5-point favorites at -105. That's gone to -108, so a 3-cent move over there. This total sitting over at 44. There is a 44.5 on the board. When we go over to the cash flow, we have just 1,954 tickets in. This game's 6 days away. 58% of the tickets on the over, 41% of cash on the over. Then 88% of 58% of tickets on Minnesota and 41% of cash on Minnesota. Then 88% of tickets on the over, but we don't have any cash flow at this point. There's Billy Brisbane in the house. Nice to see you, Brizzy, my guy. Let's go. Vikings coming off extra rest following their 36-28 win at home over the Steelers on Thursday night. They're up 23-0 at the half. They let the Steelers back in it. They had a 29-point lead in the third quarter. All but one of Minnesota's games this year have been decided by 8 points or less. They have 4 losses by 3 points or less. Kirk Cousins was 14 of 31 for 216 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. 11 days after Dalvin Cook separated his shoulder, he comes back and he's unstoppable. 27 carries for 205 yards and 2 touchdowns and 1 crucial 17-yard reception. KJ Osborne caught 3 passes for 83 yards and a touchdown. Justin Jefferson caught 7 passes for 79 yards and a touchdown. And Billy Brisbane saying Jefferson going to smash. Eric Kendricks returned from injury, 11 tackles, 2 for a loss and a sack. Anthony Barr also returned from injury, 9 tackles. They finished with 5 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. Brashard Breeland had an interception, although he did look bad a few different times. Tackle Christian Darrisaw sat out for the second straight game. He was replaced by Oli Udoh, and Mason Cole played right guard for Udoh. So backup linebacker Ryan Connolly appeared to seriously injure his knee covering the second half kickoff. And Alexander Madison has been placed on the COVID-19 list, and he's unvaccinated. So 10-day quarantine for Madison. He will not be available on Monday. D.D. Westbrook was also placed on the COVID list. Wide receiver Adam Thielen and linebacker Blake Lynch were inactive last week, questionable this week. Bears coming off a wild 45-30 loss at Green Bay on Sunday night. You know, I came so close to betting the Bears, and I would have taken them full game. I wouldn't have taken them first half. and I would have lost, and it would have made me irate. And I was thankful to not move on. They've now lost 7 of 8. They're 5 for 28 games against Aaron Rodgers that he started. They were leading 27-21 at the half. Their only second half points came on a Cairo Santos field goal with 1:22 left. Justin Fields, 18 of 33 for 224 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He also ran 9 times for 74 yards. He did lose a fumble. Montgomery ran 10 times for 42 yards, caught 6 passes for 39 yards. Jakeem Grant looked good, scored twice, 97-yard punt return. Their defense just couldn't get stops. And what happened is we know that Akeem Hicks is out with the ankle injury. And as soon as Roquan Smith left in the second half, I mean, they didn't look good in the second quarter. But when they didn't have Roquan Smith either, I mean, there was just nothing. They had nothing. Left tackle Jason Peters injured his ankle in the first quarter. Cornerback Xavier Crawford is in concussion protocol. DeAndre Houston Carson left in the third quarter with an arm injury. Let's go over these spots. So Houston Carson broke his arm, so he's done for the year. Justin Fields has a bruised left hand. He's listed as questionable. Roquan Smith, questionable. Tonga, their defensive tackle, is also questionable. Crawford in concussion protocol, like I said. Mario Edwards Jr. is on the COVID list. So is Artie Burns on the COVID list. So is Eddie Goldman on the COVID list. Then you have Marquise Goodwin, Andy Dalton, Teez Tabor, Akeem Hicks, and Sam Kamara, all inactive last week and questionable this week. Here we go. Bebsie, the Monday Nighter. Vikings Bears.
Well, I can answer Jared TG's question right off the bat. Bears confuse me. They aren't as bad as their record. That's the Matt Nagy effect. This is why I think the Bears lose this one. Because, man, Justin Fields can't make the mistake of winning this game and potentially keeping his coach's job. Both of these coaches should actually probably be fired at the end of this season. But listen, I'm not going to bet Minnesota as much as I think that they should dominate in this spot because that's not what they do. They love to win games on the final play or lose games on the final play of the game. So 3.5, as much as they should roll in this one, it's too many points. This could come down to a last-second field goal. And I have no idea who's going to win this one. I just know it'll be closer than it should be. The Chicago Bears are absolutely banged up on defense. This is going to be a props look for me. And I think Thielen could be back. And if that's the case, I think I might be looking at Thielen receiving over or anytime TD from Thielen. But no play on this spread for me.
No play on this spread. What are your thoughts of the Vikings in the cold weather outside? Do you think that's another hit against them here this week?
Not so much because I think Cousins is fine there. And also Cousins is coming off a couple of mediocre games, which means, again, he usually doesn't put those together in bunches. So I think Cousins has a solid game here. Also, he's facing a depleted Chicago Bears defense.
Jacksonville Zoe in the house. Great to see you, Zoe, my guy. Twatty says, just take the Fields rushing prop. Fields will be running for his life. Mini as a team has by far the most sacks in the league.
I like that look, to be honest with you.
Fields rushing prop. I've been so good staying away from these spots. All right, Vikings, Bears, the Monday Nighter. These Vikings 3-cent move towards them. What do you think of this total sitting at 44? This Bears defense looks terrible, absolutely terrible. What do you think of the total here, Bebsie? If you had a free bet, what would you do?
I do think I'd lean over. Justin Fields was kind of putting it together a little bit last game, in spite of Matt Nagy. I like Fields, and I think he's gonna be good. And I do think the Vikings are capable of putting up points. And just to address Burgundy bets there, I'm also looking at Justin Jefferson props because he's the guy there, not Thielen. But I will be looking there as well.
Dutch Boy Fresh joining us. Dutch, no harm, no foul. I did move on the Knicks first half. I doubled up. So, and I didn't get to watch the game because we're here doing a show. But love capping with you. Can't wait to have you back on the show on Thursday, my guy. So what do you think of this Vikings team total sitting at 23.5?
I think there's some value there.
So
I like that.
So do I. I think that it's the state of this Bears defense is absolutely atrocious. And look, I get it. We could just take the full game over. And I don't hate the full game over.
Dennis Trusty's asking a valid question here. And I don't know how bad a weather are we talking?
It's not bad at all. 31 Fahrenheit, so it's cold, but partly cloudy, 8 miles per hour is the wind.
Yeah, cold. Like technology is too advanced now for regular cold to be that big of a factor. I mean, it's got to be frozen tundra cold.
All right, last game here. Turn that shit off, please. Jesus, Vikings Bears final game here. The Monday nighter. I think both the Vikings team total over and the full game over is in play. That's what I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'd be more comfortable on the Vikings team total over than I would be on the full game over. Again, I have such little faith in Matt Nagy. It's hard for me to bet.
I agree with that. I think that makes sense. Let's just take a look at the Vikes here, what the team total is over at Pinnacle. So it's the exact same. It's 23.5 and it's juiced to the over pretty heavy, minus 124, minus 125. I think that is the look though. It's just so juiced.
Yeah.
That's the only problem here. Straight Facts likes Vikings -3. He likes the under in the game. I think the Vikes can get to 24 points. I do. Okay. Bebsie, do you want to make this official? Last game on the card, the Monday nighter.
I'm going to hold off on it. And I was going to hold off on it before I read this, but Burgundy Bets makes a good point. Kirk primetime record. Yeesh.
Yeah, I'm caring less about that as he's getting older. I don't think that's as big of a issue, but it is facts. Trusty says, I think the overs are the play. I agree. I think the Vikings team total is more the spot. Danny Lopez agreeing with the team total. All right, there you guys have it. 16 games capped here, and I'm coming off, albeit barely, 5-4 plus 0.55 units, but a 7 straight winning week, and I want to make it 8. Let's review action here on the card. Thursday, December 16th. Dennis Garcia said, I just realized that Cash Sabres money line. I cannot believe I took the Senators first period and didn't take them full game. Makes me extremely angry. Here we go. The Chiefs, Chargers. If Chris Jones is in the lineup, I will be moving on the first half under. That will be my plan, but I'll need to wait and see if Jones is in the lineup. Bebsie's not moving on the Thursday nighter. On Saturday, Bebsie's on the Browns -3 at -104, and I agree with the look. I think we're getting a gift here, possibly. Now, also, there could be 10 more COVID defections from the lineup. So, but I agree, and I'm going to roll with Bebsie on this look on the Browns. I want that 3. Then Bebsie's on the Pats +2 at +103, and I want to sit with this Patriots Colts game a little longer. He could have got the 2.5 at minus I think it was 114 or 115, but he chose the plus money. Then we have Carolina Buffalo, and I'm going to need more time on this spot, but I'm interested in the under here. And maybe I focus just on the Panthers team total under. That's going to take more time. I'm also very interested in the under 47.5 in Cardinals Lions and or the Lions team total under. I expect to move on at least one of them this evening. Also, I liked the under in Jets Dolphins, but it looks like I've been talked off of it by Dennis Garcia and a few others. in the chat, which is fine, but I will keep an eye on it. Then Bebsie moved on the Cowboys Giants under 45 minus 107, and I want in. I can't get the 45. I can only get the 44.5, but I want in, and I want the Giants team total under. Then Bebsie moved on the under 44.5 in Washington, Philly, and I like it. I think that Washington's football team is good enough to slow down the Eagles enough, and I don't know if Heineke's going to be in the lineup. Then we have Titans, Steelers, and look, I think this is too low of a total. I think this is too low of a total in Tennessee, Pittsburgh, and Tennessee had to play a certain way against the Jags, and that's why the game went on. They had to play conservative. The Jags just weren't going to beat them, but this is different. Pittsburgh's going to keep going at you. Then nothing for the bum fight in Houston, Jacksonville. Bebsie's on the Broncos minus 1.5 at Pinnacle. I need more time on that one. That's going to be a great game, Broncos, Bengals. Then Falcons, Niners, we are off at this point. Bebsie's on the Rams minus 4 at minus 114 at FanDuel. I'm going to need more time on that spot too, but I get the fact that you're expecting a discount because of the COVID issues. Then Bebsie moved on the Packers team total over 23.5 at Sugar House. A 24.5 if I wanted to bet it right now. So I'm not, and I like it still, but I'm going to take a little bit of time on this spot. Then I'm wondering about a Saints team total under against the Bucks. Bebsie did nothing, and I'm going to keep studying it. Then I think that the over is in play in Vikings Bears. And I think the Vikings team total over is probably the sharper look. And that is a 16-game card. The next show for you guys on Sunday, NFL Pub Hub, I will be live from Los Angeles, from my dad's house in LA. I'll be coming to you for the next 2 weeks from LA. Other than that, there you fucking have it. There you have it. We have nothing without you guys in the chat. Thank you so much for your insights, your humor. You inspire us to fight harder, and it means a ton to me. It means a ton. Bebsie, any last words for these great cappers supporting the show?
Thank you all so much for joining us, especially the ones who join us at the beginning and stay along for this entire show. That's 16 games in the books. Old Bebsie needs a nap real bad.
Well, you're going to get that nap. You are going to get that nap. On behalf of all of us here at Pub Sports Radio, thank you for watching. Follow our man Rob Bebenek on Twitter at Rob_Bebenek. Bebsie, where are you next? Where can our fans see you doing stand-up?
Well, if you're Toronto folks or anywhere near the GTA, I do a show every Thursday at Tall Boys, 838 Bloor Street West. But New Year's Eve, it's my birthday show. I am playing the main room at Comedy Bar West. And I'm bringing along a great little lineup of some of my favorite comics. So if you're looking for something to do New Year's Eve and you live in the Toronto area and you just want to laugh and get drunk, then that's where I'll be.
I love it. Thank you, Jared TG, Chris Brady, Mr. Fun Monk, Harold Williams, Danny Lopez, Lesko, Brandon R, Dennis Trusty, Gerald Jones, Straight Facts, Burgundy Bets, Mr. Gokster, Jacksonville Zoe, Dennis Garcia. We had Slatsy in here, Dutch Boy Fresh, Birdie, Tony Lee, Jared TG, Daryl Lyles. All of you guys, thank you so much for your support. And it is time to make it 8 straight winning weeks. Let's fucking go. Week 15 is ours. Let's get that fucking cash, baby.